Hello everyone and welcome to episode 107 of the Xbox All Gamers podcast. This week I'm joined by Cameron.
Hey.
Theo.
Hey everyone.
And our special guest Nick.
G'day. How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
No worries, thanks for having me.
As always, we're doing the show live on Twitch, so you can come say hi. Xbox All Gamers is the place to find us. Come shitpost and just, interact with us as much as possible. We do try to answer questions during the chat, but obviously we are recording the podcast, so, a little bit of give and take. Unless you got something really funny, in which case I'll tell everyone to shut up and I'll read it out. So, good luck. I guess we'll just get straight into it and have a bit of a chat with you, Nick. It's great to have you on the show. Cameron's organised some little questions to go through to give us the people a bit of an idea of who you are, what you do, why you're here, etc., etc.
I was going to go through the community questions first because there were some community questions centered towards Nick.
Sure, yeah, we can do that. Okay.
Straight off the bat, we had Zach. Okay, who is Nick and what is an Xbox era?
I mean, that's probably a good start.
Yeah. Well, who is Nick? I am Nick. We started Xbox era. We're trying to make it somewhat of an outlet, I guess, an Xbox media outlet. How successful we are at doing that, I don't know. I think we're doing okay. It started roughly, I think it was about 4.5 years ago. The shortest version of the story is that it grew out of a private Discord. And it just, from there, we started doing the podcast, and then John had bigger ambitions, John being my co-host and co-founder. He had far bigger ambitions than I did and wanted to do the site and the forum and all that sort of stuff. And those of you who follow Phil Spencer will see we did a book to celebrate 20 years of Xbox. We kickstarted a book a couple of years ago. That finally finished and got printed and sent out to everyone, and Phil's got that book on his shelf. So I guess that's probably our biggest claim to fame.
Yeah.
So that's probably the short version of Xbox era and me.
Easy.
Fantastic.
Going into the next question.
Long version, but
yeah, I'm sure the long version has, spoilers and all kinds of stuff for all kinds of things.
Oh, look, I'm sure you don't want the podcast to go for too long. That's why I just thought.
Well, let's just talk about how about your opinion on HDR.
Oh man, don't even. You see it on our show. You see on our show when Jesse screws around with the HDR, and we all end up looking either like Ben Starr, or we end up looking weirdly faded. HDR causes more problems than I think it's worth.
I think controversially, I'm probably on the same page. I'm not HDR out, and I'm not like vocal about it, but I think that you just quietly, I think you might be onto something.
Yeah.
If it was supported properly and implemented properly, and we all had an agreed format and all that sort of stuff, awesome, great.
Yeah, I was just flicking back through a couple of your recent podcasts, and I saw the one there with Cog, and the first thing that come up was your discussion on HDR, and I'm like, this man of my own heart. HDR, get out of here. Yeah. So, yeah.
When it works, it's great. It looks like you've cranked the color up a lot. And but I don't know. I'm not sure I'm sold on the benefit of HDR really justifying the hassle it can sometimes cause.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I don't know.
All right, Cameron, what else have you got?
All right. I'll get into Isaac. Isaac is our questionnaire extraordinaire. He always asks a good question every week. Hello, Nick. What is your opinion on achievements? Do you like them? Do you not like them? And what makes a good achievement? Hope you're enjoying your time with all of gamers. And if he likes achievements, ask him, what achievement are you most proud of achieving?
Oh boy, I once upon a time I was obsessed with achievements, to the point where I didn't want to play a game if I didn't think I could get the full 1,000 on it back in the early days on 360. Like, it used to just destroy my OCD if I had a game that didn't have 1,000. And as I was saying before we went live, I was a really involved person at xboxachievements.org. Jumped on all the forums and all that sort of stuff. And, they did this collaborated effort to get as many people online at one time in NBA 2K6 back in 2007.
Yep.
So we could all get that achievement for 3,000 people being online at once. So I got up at like 1 a.m., 1 or 2 a.m. just to jump online on NBA 2K6. Said that we could all, and then I saw that achievement pop, and it was like, oh my God, this is so good. And then, I had my 360 on for 24 hours straight because I thought that's what you had to do for the time shift server achievement.
Oh, yeah.
To use your Xbox 360 as a server in time shift. So I did that, just left my 360 on, risked the red ring of death, and I'm like, nope, I need this achievement. Yeah. Another example of my weird, stupid dedication to achievements was the club on 360. So I've got I've got only one achievement left in the club, which was them making fun of Gears of War, where they said, no, seriously, and it's like 10,001 kills online. So me and a mate are the only two people in the world playing it. So what we do is we jump online against each other and just keep killing each other over and over again. And we haven't done it for a long time. We need to go back and do it and keep killing each other to build up towards that 10,000. But that's how into achievements I was at one point. I think the moment for me when I started to get a bit over them and not like them anymore was when servers started shutting down, when they started putting really, really stupid achievements in. Like just stuff that only the biggest weirdos, like me at the time, would bother getting. Like Halo used to piss me off in a big way with those ones. It's like on a Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
in July, be playing SWAT and get in a vehicle and be upside down and shoot 3 people in a row. And it's like, man, are you for real right now? Like, what kind of achievement is that? They just used to have stupid stuff like that, and that just started to really turn me off. And then I think the final straw was Xbox One. Remember when Xbox One first launched and achievements were just like broken? Like just they weren't working properly because they decided to change the way they did it. Then they started doing achievements for apps. And it just, I don't know, I just think it kind of ruined the whole thing a little bit.
They started trying to make challenges a thing, which was such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that was stupid. And then, so now it's hit the point where I'm not as into them as I once was. I kind of just, there's a little bit of that OCD in the back of my head that still eats away at me a little bit. But now I just stick to, if there's a game I love and I'm really into it, I'll go for the 1,000. Yeah. Like I did on Prince of Persia.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good way to go.
That's where I sit with them now.
A bit of a related question then. You sort of mentioned, like all the stuff you're talking about is the things I think all three of us have felt and probably still do feel to this day in a lot of ways. To a greater or lesser extent as the years have gone on. Before achievements were a thing, were you a completionist by nature?
Yes.
Were you the kind of person who just get everything out of the game?
Yeah. Yep. Used to try and find all the collectibles, used to try and all of it, especially with Nintendo's games, because Nintendo designed them in such a way where you really wanted to get everything in all of them.
Yep.
So yeah, achievements hooked me straight away. And I've done it all. I've done all the most stupid boosting methods. I've bought 2 copies of games before. Like, I was sitting there self-boosting Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So because I'm a multi Xbox console home, I'd have like my second dummy account signed in on another Xbox and then have my one, and then I'd play against myself to beat myself a certain number of times in a row and get all those sorts of achievements. And I've done all sorts of loopy shit to get achievements.
You preach to the choir here, mate. We might just have to get you on permanently because this is just sounding like all the kind of stuff that we just
I've
do
done psychotic stuff.
Yeah.
I've done psychotic stuff.
What's like the worst one that you've gone for?
Oh God!
Everybody's got like that one bad experience that they spent 4 hours in a boosting session and still haven't unlocked the achievement or something.
I know Mile High in COD in terms of just how long it took and how much I just tried to brute force it.
Yeah.
I think what I do with the club is pretty psychotic.
That is just a little bit.
Anything based off seriously is going to be psychotic.
Yeah. Just the fact that he and I coordinate the way we do.
Yeah.
I know. God, should I say this publicly? Let's just say I had found a way in Killer Instinct and it was completely by accident. I will say that. It was a total accident that I stumbled upon. Maybe I'll talk about it off air.
Yeah.
But I found a way to achieve a lot of things online in Killer Instinct.
Oh, okay.
I think I
Back
know.
in the day.
I think I know the way you're talking about.
I found
it was
it was completely by accident. No modding, no hacking, no cheating, anything like that. It was just, again, I'd rather not say it publicly just in case. Sure. But let's just say I found a way to get some of the more difficult online achievements in Killer Instinct. But yeah, I've done a lot of weird stuff for achievements. So much weird stuff.
I love it. Yeah, like achievements have gone through kind of so many stages over the years of like you said, like the early 360 days where developers didn't really seem to understand what they were really, and so you got a mix of stuff that was like King Kong, which is like, if you finish the game, you get the full 1,000.
Yeah.
Right, and you're like, okay, I guess, yeah, sure. I mean, whatever. And then on the other side of it, you get something like Ghost Recon, which was like, hey, get a number 1 spot on the world leaderboard.
Oh yeah, I know, just stupid.
And you're like, come on, like.
I don't know why they do it.
There. I'll never get it done, but
like put it this way. So I don't know if you guys saw. You're into achievements, so maybe you did. Have any of you guys played Benedict Fox?
Yep.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, me and Matt have.
Yeah. Yep. We got the completion for it.
I'm in the credits of Benedict
really?
Fox as their achievement consultant.
Ah.
Yeah. So when we had the developer of Benedict Fox on, we all really got along. Started having a chat with him in Discord about achievements and please don't ruin your achievement list. So many games, blah, blah, blah. So we started talking about that back and forth. Now, people who know me know that I skip cutscenes. So, they took some of my achievement suggestions on board. Some of them were too late to get in, too far into development to get in.
Sure.
And they put in an achievement just for me, which was that you're not allowed to skip any of the cutscenes.
Oh, so it's your fault that I had to sit through all that. That's
that is literally because of me.
Yeah.
And nice. My name is in the credits as achievement consultant / cutscene skipper. That's what I'm in there
Amazing.
as.
I love that because like when that was happening at the time, I was actually talking quite a bit to one of the PR and marketing agencies that worked on Benedict Fox. And then we just got on the whole massive 90-minute conversation of this is how you can use achievements as marketing, and
that's what I was saying to them.
And they just don't know. But then you've got other games
what I said.
like was it NBA 2K that do KFC and brands.
There's been a few branded ones. I think it was some of the sports and I think skateboarding. Some of the skateboarding games had some of them. Yeah, a few of them got brands, which was interesting. Snickers present.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it really went anywhere, but
just interesting that they've thought about it. Yeah.
It's funny though, because that's what I said to the guys at Benedict Fox. I'm like, if you're smart about it, you can use your achievement list to sell your game better. And I explained how there's massive communities of achievement hunters, and they will buy a game just because of the easy achievements if you get it right.
Yeah.
Not to the point of press start and get 100, but if you design your list well enough, I've bought games for achievements and trophies plenty of times. Heaps of times. A game I never would have bought otherwise.
Sites like True Achievements get millions of clicks per month. For an indie dev, that's so much advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
and that's what I tried to explain.
You boys have your likeness in a game as well, actually. So Operation Zeta in the DLC.
That's true. We are in that game.
Yeah. You're one of the few
got
people that
added
went
as,
100%
like, a
that.
quest
But
line,
yeah,
into
Oh, really?
into an indie
Yeah.
dev game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which one?
Operation
It's-
Zeta. It's like
yeah.
a cute, like quirky.
So it's like a gravity-based game. If you think like a 2D kind of Super Mario Galaxy kind of thing, where you have like a bunch of planets and you basically have to rotate around them and find pieces of the ship and then escape the planet, pretty much the area. So yeah, it's actually quite fun. It was one of my favorite kind of like indie games of that year. So it's a couple years now.
So solid.
2020.
Is
Is that right? 2020?
I think so. Yeah.
We got an achievement there. Podcasting is the achievement with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm watching it now.
Yeah, cute little
Like, I've
addition
just
to
done-
like a title update. Or
Yeah, I
DLC.
championed that game a little bit. I'm like, I was just giving it to my friends for Christmas and everything. I'm like, just play this game.
It's a good game.
So-
He's worked on another Steam game. I want to get him back on, but yeah, I don't think he's had anything that come on Xbox for a little bit.
It got an idea at Xbox trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice.
So,
Yeah.
David in the chat says he created 3 Xbox accounts to get the completion of the Paw Patrol racing game. Yeah,
Wow.
I had to borrow a few accounts and a few controllers to try and get that one done. 'cause you
Yeah,
have to
I've
do
done
4
that
players.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
boring.
Well, I've got one spare account that I had created just for the sake of it, partially for achievements. And then sometimes I'll log into my sons and then log into my daughters and then I'll do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what they're for.
It's right. You have to.
This next question, I just threw in as a little bit of side thing because you were talking about hot cross buns as a tangent in the last episode of Xbox Era.
Yeah.
Pizza shaped hot cross buns, too controversial?
Pizza shaped.
They're doing pizza shaped hot cross buns now.
Pizza shape, the
Pizza
Like
shape.
shapes,
biscuit?
like the
Pizza
crackers.
shape.
Oh, as in Arnott's pizza shapes.
Yeah, I guess so. What?
Yeah.
Really?
So I wanted
Hang on.
I wanted to quickly
Interesting.
do that tangent, and then what interesting and inventive flavor should be explored next?
Well, I want to try the fairy bread ones. Woolies has
Oh,
fairy bread hot cross buns, so I want to try those out.
I'm on board for that.
Pizza shape. I mean, I love pizza shapes, but I don't know how that would go
Yeah,
with hot cross buns.
when I eat pizza shapes, bready texture is not the first thing that comes to mind. You know, I'm like,
That's what I mean. I'm gonna Google this.
yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was the first I'd heard of it as well. So
I follow
Oh, look at that news story from yesterday.
follow
Or
this
the day before.
TikToker that covers all of the different creative foods. And yeah, I saw pizza shaped hot cross buns, and I thought he talked about it the other day. I should bring this up.
Yeah, look at them. They're Coles. Coles are doing it.
This is some really weird. Like there
Wow.
was burger sauce flavored hot cross buns last year.
Really?
Yeah, they're apparently the worst product of.
Yeah, no
2023.
surprise. I mean, to be fair, I mean, you make one batch of them, you put them out there on the internet, and suddenly you've got an advertising story for you people who go in to buy that and buy regular hot cross buns to watch the taste out.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like hot cross bun flavors should stick to the dessert realm.
Yeah, like I'm a big fan of the chocolate hot cross bun. Yeah, I'm like, okay,
They're just a bit messy for me.
they are 100%.
Like-
Yeah, like that's
You touch them and
Yeah.
that's it. Like you're gone. Like you just, but they do taste nice. The apple and cinnamon aren't bad.
yeah, I'm on board.
They're
for that.
pretty good. But I don't know. The fruitless ones are still my favorites.
Yeah.
I love them. They're so nice.
I don't know, I guess we can keep an eye out to see if they get a barbecue flavor and a chicken crimpy.
Yeah,
Ugh.
chicken crimpy. Chicken crimpy any day. Like not on a hot cross bun, but just above all the
Oh
other
yeah,
things.
they're nice. They're very nice shapes, but not on a hot
No,
cross
no,
bun.
hot cross.
No.
Cool. All right. I'll move on to some of the other questions then, just from us.
Okay.
So obviously we've had some like giant leaps in the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One generations when it comes to achievement hunting. Haven't really seen anything as of recent, but it was in the conversation a few years ago. I think it was in the conversation very recently.
a few months back. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the landscape of achievement hunting like going forward, and how is like Microsoft going to like? How do you think they're going to react to the community and like best like upgrade the system? Like, what do you want to see essentially?
Well, yeah, I'd heard a while back that they were genuinely looking to overhaul it, and then we had Macca on our show recently. You guys would be familiar with him as achievement hunters.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, Macca said that he had heard about it for a long time, but I don't know, when I got told about it last year, it sounded a little more definitive. And then I don't know if it was part of the FTC leaks or something just came out that they were saying about an achievement overhaul. So I was like, wow, well, there you go. My info must have been pretty good on that. So as far as I'm aware, I believe they're looking at like a platinum equivalent, something similar, because I actually quite like the whole platinum trophy thing that PlayStation does.
Yeah.
And I love that the DLC is separated with them. I really
like that as well. So,
so I'd be completely okay with Xbox just straight up copying that.
It's also
I don't know. I don't know how much more. At least I'm not intelligent enough to think of how else they could evolve it. To be genuinely great again. Like they tried the challenges, no one cared. They tried giving apps achievements, no one cared. So I don't know what else they can do. They gave us our little diamond for less than 10%, which is cool. Yeah.
Well, I thought they could lean in on the mineral kind of thing and just do like onyx and ruby, or just have little extra things like that. Go with their own theme and have minerals or something as their kind of thing, or even multipliers. Like every time you earn a single achievement, you can see how many times you earned it. So you started a game like 1,000,000 times.
I love the thing that like TA does, where it gives you like the list at the end of the year of like you're in the top 100 of FPS players in this region. Like I think there's a good ideas that they could borrow from True Achievements.
I've always been surprised that Microsoft basically hasn't just gone and pilfered some of the leaderboard stuff, the stat tracking stuff that TA does.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's just they just don't want to deal with it, and it's too small of a niche for them to really put a lot of time and effort behind. I mean, they have a partnership with TA already, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunity there. I mean, you can look at your friends list and look at like who's got more gamer score than you this month on your friends list, etc., etc. Like I used like third out of your friends list, but outside of that, they don't really publicize a lot of.
Well, there's a lot of responsibility that comes up when achievements start getting discontinued.
Yes.
That it really just shakes things up, and they'll have to deal with that if that happens. So
I feel like you guys are alluding to, like there's a lot of little things they could do to then make it good again, rather than any one big thing. Like you got to look at why people are not caring about achievements anymore, and maybe address it from that angle. Like for example, to me, unless your game is online only, I personally think online achievements should just go away.
Yeah.
Personally, because if your achievement list if you've got achievements on your list that could potentially one day not be attained, then that achievement should not exist.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't exist. Little things like what I always wished was that if a game was going offline, hey guys, log into the game before this time and this day, and you'll unlock all the achievements.
Yeah.
Just something like that. We've done a little patch and we've flicked the switch and you log in, you're gonna get all the achievements before the game shuts down.
The only problem with that, then you have like those, I grinded 10,000 kills on Seriously. Like, why should somebody get a handout? That's the only problem with that. Mass Effect Andromeda did a really cool thing of, hey, we have this online mode. We'll give you like a easier online achievement. But then if it goes offline, you can still get it. You got to do like a veteran campaign or there's two ways to unlock the same achievement, but the offline way is the harder route.
Yeah, they did that for Mass Effect 3 as well.
Oh.
It was kind of an interesting innovation that we haven't really
I
seen
reckon that's
anywhere
good.
else.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Why don't more of them do that?
Yeah, you had to play the campaign twice, I think it was, or just play online a bunch or something.
Yeah, I think it was like if you had a save from Mass Effect 1 and 2, I think you could bring it over. But you're right. It was kind of it was an interesting idea. I think that
maybe it's like if you earn it before a certain point, then you get like the special token on your profile that says I actually earned this achievement the legit way, and everyone else doesn't get that. It's like, own it now, you'll get this.
Remember, like 360, like stuff was tied to avatars and
that was
those
cool. I
kind of
like
rewards that made it worth it.
Yeah, but Xbox One had that with wallpapers.
Yeah,
and then they stopped. That was one of the only things I started to look forward to with achievements, to see what cool art. And Titanfall had amazing ones, and Rise had amazing ones, and then. Now there must be this stock template that Microsoft uses. I don't know if you've noticed it. If you look at all the wallpapers that come with achievements now, they all look the same.
Yeah.
So there must be a stock template that they use, and it pisses me off to no end. It's like, and I said that to the Ben Fox guys. I'm like, you guys must have so much concept art lying around. Throw it in there, man.
Yeah, people love
throw it in there.
Just throw it everywhere.
And attach it.
Chuck it on Steam. Chuck it on Xbox. Like,
I think part of that is we kind of noticed that, I think, when we saw that turn of PlayStation really gaining prominence and games being PlayStation first and ported to Xbox as opposed to the other way around. Then it was like, oh, hey, we're just going to port the trophies over. So now every Xbox game is going to have a platinum trophy equivalent for getting all the other achievements. Even if it doesn't really make sense, because they were just like, well, and I know people remind me, technically, I know it works a little bit differently than that. We've had like Vudix on to talk about like the back end stuff of achievements, but you have to admit that like if PlayStation is outselling Xbox 3-1, people are going to be developing for PlayStation and Xbox second, and some stuff just doesn't come to Xbox.
Well, what's your opinion on the PlayStation 4 versions on automatically unlocking all of the platinums when you load up a PS5 version?
Oh, I love that. I literally just did that today with Last of Us Part 2 Remastered.
Oh, I saw that tweet. Yeah.
I literally did it today. Imported the save that had everything, and it just started going blick, 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 and then all of a sudden the platinum appeared, and I was like, how good's that? I love that. I think that's great. That's the funny thing. I fully prefer how PlayStation does it now. Completely prefer how they do it all.
For sure. Yeah.
Which I never thought I'd ever say.
They did videos and stuff as well. Every time you unlocked an achievement, you could unlock a snapshot or a video.
You can turn that off. Like, I've turned that stuff off because it was getting annoying.
It filled up my hard drive.
Yeah.
The videos.
I just get too many trophies, mate.
Yeah. It was annoying me too. But I much prefer the way they do it. When I found out that you could do that with the upgrade games, I was like, this is a cool feature. Like, not making me get all these achievements again. I reckon that's great. Now, Xbox obviously didn't have to do that because they didn't have two versions. Like, you used to get those
not as much. I mean, in the past you kind of had that sort of crossover stuff. I think was like Assassin's Creed Black Flag had a 360 version and an Xbox One version, and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't.
It's happening with PC more often than not.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Yes.
Cross saves.
I can think off the top of my head is like Destiny, where it was like just a true starter and server just popped everything.
Yeah, I think Age of Empires 2, they had two PC versions. No, Age of Empires 1, they had two PC versions or whatever it was. Yeah, so they've done it occasionally, but not as big of a thing on the Xbox. But I'm with you. Like, I'm not a big person who like replays games a lot. I mean, I've got a lot of like stacks done of games. Like, I think I've done like Life is Strange 3 different times because it's been released 3 different times. But I've made sure to put big gaps between playing those games, like not back to back to back. Because I'm like, well, actually,
it's the story kind of thing.
Exactly. I'm like, unfortunately, I got like a mind like a steel trap when it comes to video game narratives. So I'm like, yep, okay, remember this, remember this, remember this. But still enjoyable.
Well, I know with 360, like, you had that thing where you had a European version and then the Japanese version and then the US version. And that's 3 separate achievement lists for some stupid reason.
Played Bioshock many times.
Yes. Like the only games I played multiple times to get the achievements twice was like I did it with Mark of the Ninja, so I got them all on 360, then played again on Xbox One. Forza Horizon 2 presents Fast and the Furious.
Yep.
Got that twice for free. Played it. I mean, you can do all those achievements in like an hour. So I got the 1,000 in both of those. Trying to think if there was any other game. I'm sure there's other games I've done it with, but they're the couple that come to mind.
There's even like what is it? One Step After Fall. What was that game that came out recently?
Oh yeah, one season. No, yeah, the one where they released like different language versions of it like 8 times or something.
Yeah, there's a shovelware dev that basically went, hey, let's do every single one to try and make this.
Is it One Step After Fall or something?
Yeah, something like
I think
that.
it was one step.
Yeah.
Did you guys get the debug mode ones for the pedestrian?
I did the pedestrian legit, and then I found out about the
didn't.
over.
I did it legit, and then was annoyed when I found the debug afterwards. To be fair, I enjoyed that game enough, but I was quite sick of it by the end of it.
So I started doing it legit, and then there was something I couldn't figure out. So I've jumped on YouTube. I'm like, yep, the pedestrian guide, and then Macca's guide came up, and Macca's guide's like, hey, check this out. Chuck it in the debug mode and do these things. And I'm like, yep, I'm doing this. So I just did it, got them all, and it was the best. I loved it. It was so good.
Was it Transference that had like a 30-minute guide, then it went down to 8, and then somebody...
No, it was... I know the one you're talking about. It was a similar like walking sim kind of game where it was like if you turned around and did like a certain spin thing, it would just like skip levels. So you would just get... It was ridiculous. Like it was already a short game.
Yeah, it was like less than an hour game, and somebody found a debug menu that essentially brought it down to, I think it was like 20 seconds or something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And we've all bought Avatar, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. We've all bought Avatar. I've logged in with like everyone started giving me their usernames and passwords for their Xbox Live accounts, like all my mates and like cousins and stuff. So I'm just logging into this was back when like all of us cared about achievements.
Yeah.
And like I was just logging in with everyone's account and just going pop, 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 getting 1,000 for everyone. God, those were the days. I miss those days.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, I mean, not to derail us too much, but like from a evolving of achievements and how those have happened. Like the 360 had a few of those. It would be like, you get like an Avatar, which was super quick. You get like a King Kong, which would just play through the game. And then on the other side, you would get like a Graw or a Gears of War or something. It would be like a big investment. You're like, okay, kind of trying to figure it out there. And then on the Xbox One, it was like, okay, yes, we've kind of got it, but now also there's a shitload of indie games. And now it used to be like arcade games were 200, regular games were 1,000. Now everything's 1,000. And
games are games.
Yeah, games are games, right? And so like you get the ID at Xbox stuff where they're like, well, there's no real reason. Everything's downloadable. Everything's available online. There's no reason why they should have different numbers. And then you kind of get to where we kind of are now, where someone's like, actually, the rules say that I can put in title updates for these games every 6 months. So I'm just going to put in 1,000 points every 6 months for basically no new content. And you can go back and play Reactor X or whatever the fuck for 2 minutes and get all your games done and just never be done with it. And suddenly you've got, you end up with a million gamer score by playing 10 different games.
Yeah, well, PlayStation's still doing the ones without the platinums too. So
True, yeah.
There was some big one that did that recently. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, I can't remember the game either, but yeah, everyone was shocked about it. There was some fairly big game that was like, no platinum, and everyone's like, what? What do you mean?
So it's interesting to see how things have changed over the years, and I'm very curious to see kind of both from like a regulation or rules point of view of like if Xbox is going to maybe get a bit harsher around like, hey, actually no, like achievement farm games, let's maybe put the kibosh on that a little bit and stop people from just releasing $5 shovelware and just spamming it on the marketplace. And then on top of that, what kind of features they might end up using.
Yeah,
felt like it was a discussion and then it kind of just got brushed under the rug after. Anyway.
Right.
Are there any particular upcoming games that you're excited to play, and what entices you to complete all the achievements in a game?
Well, up until recently, it was Prince of Persia, but I've beaten that now.
Is that your game of the year?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a good start. Good start to the year.
I think so already. Like, I don't, of the stuff we know that's coming in 2024, I don't envision anything topping Prince of Persia for me.
Okay. That convinces me to check out Ubisoft Plus, I think.
Yeah, I don't envision, but I love Metroidvanias, don't forget.
Yeah, my jam too.
Metroid Dread was my game of the year of 2021.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or Ori 2020. Like,
gotcha. Yeah, okay.
I clearly enjoy Metroidvanias. You know, as great as indie looks, and I'm really looking forward to South of Midnight, and I'm sure I'm looking forward to whatever the hell Nintendo's going to be releasing with Switch 2, presumably later this year. But I suspect, I'm fairly confident it'll be Prince of Persia. It's just amazing.
It's funny because Cameron and I were having a discussion about this last week a little bit. Of the same time last year, we were like, yeah, it doesn't look like there's a lot coming out for 2023. It's looking a little bit quiet. So we might be like front loaded and then kind of trying to figure out things. And then suddenly we get to our game of the year episode and we're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Best year for gaming in a long time. So
I will quickly interject. I'm so glad that the Prince of Persia, like how negatively that was first viewed, it's completely flipped on its head.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I never really understood that kind of the vitriol, but I guess people have been waiting for the Sands of Time remake for so long that, you know, people are like, oh, there's no news on that? They're starting from scratch? Like,
I don't think it's just that. It's this shitty disease that's infecting the gaming industry now, where everything has to be a AAA banger that has to go for realistic graphics and has to have the best animation on earth. And you've got to have the best physics, where if you walk through the grass has to move. And if you shoot the fruit has to explode. And if your game doesn't have these things, then just close down your studio. Like, that's that shitty attitude that is a little bit too ever present in the industry at the moment. Luckily, I don't care about those games as much. And as long as stuff like Prince of Persia still exists, then I'm fine. But in terms of, because I'm going to do my best not to derail too much. In terms of what makes me want to go for the 1,000, at this point, it's just if it's a game I'm enjoying, I'll go for it. Yeah. Like, I knew from the outset, I am going for the 1,000 in Prince of Persia. I am absolutely 100% going for the 1,000, and I just got it yesterday. So I've got my save file says 100%. I've got all the achievements. I'm done. Like, that's it. I'm done. And it was amazing. I loved it.
So when is Xbox Era starting guides?
Oh my God. You know, we've spoken about that. We've spoken about that sort of stuff. But like, that actually is a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, that is literally a full-time job. And I feel like doing guides would make you hate games a bit. I feel like I could be
in the same way that a lot of people say that achievements make them hate games, and a lot of, like, if you take it from that and extrapolate it out to, you got to do the whole game. You got to probably do it maybe 3 times, capture it, record it, edit it together, make sure you don't fuck it up.
Yeah, I've dabbled in doing a couple of guides, and the comments that I was getting was like, oh, you didn't do it like this person, and oh, you did this video backwards. The map should have been here instead of here. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, I just did it the easiest way I could to get it up as quick as possible. You know, it's all there. So
yeah, that's right. And that's part of the reason I play on Switch a lot. Like, I like that freedom of just being able to play a game, and there's no achievements or trophies eating away at my OCD. I can just play the game and beat it. And if I don't 100% it, that's okay. And if I don't get the achievements, that's okay too, because I can just play the game. It's very freeing.
Unless you're playing Xenoblade Chronicles, so... Unless
you're playing what, sorry?
Xenoblade Chronicles. If you're trying to 100% that, no. So.
I'm not into JRPGs, but yes, I do that a little bit. I used to do that a lot with Zelda games.
Right.
I used to want to get all the heart containers, and I used to want to do all that sort of stuff. Not as much anymore. I know Super Mario Odyssey I 100%ed. Metroid Dread I 100%ed. Metroid Prime. So I still do it a little bit, but I don't feel as compelled on Nintendo because there's no achievements there drawing me to do it.
That's kind of what I've explained to people when they ask about like why the achievement thing is such a big thing for myself. And I'm like, was like, yeah, like I used to 100% all the GTA games back in the day on the PlayStation. It's like, yeah, get all the hidden packages, rob all the stores, find 200 fucking pigeons, and it's like I want to get everything out of the game possible. Achievements kind of just like turn it into a bit more of a meta game. I definitely play more trash than I probably would have if I didn't have achievements, but I don't think it would change the way I play too much.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
But let me know if this question's in the community questions.
Yeah.
Which game do you think is the best example of achievements or the best achievement list?
I know,
because I've spoken about this on my show.
I already know Cameron's answer.
I've spoken about this on my show, so some people who know me will already know my answer, but which one do you guys like the best?
I'll go first because I immediately know my answer. I am at 996,000 gamer score. Like I'm getting close to 1 mil. And there's one game that I've completed before that was such an amazing experience. There's such an amazing developer that was part of the direct today that I know have delivered one of the perfect achievement lists of all time. Wolfenstein New Order.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that is honestly the perfect achievement list of it has, your difficulty campaign stuff, run through on Uber. It's not it's just a difficult game. It's not unforgiving like Wolfenstein 2, where if you die once on hardest difficulty, it's a fresh restart.
Oof.
Two completely different lists, but then everything else is like upgrade certain perks, like experiment with different weapons. So for like a AAA experience, I think the New Order is my go-to.
Yeah,
I'm playing that, and I haven't got all the achievements yet. The funny thing is, like, I find I get more annoyed now. Like, it turns me off now when I see difficulty achievements. I actually like now that games are going away from difficulty achievements. I quite like that now.
I think I was going to say, I think it depends on the context, because like if you got something like Hi-Fi Rush, I'd love to go through Hi-Fi Rush on the hardest difficulty and have it pop every lower difficulty achievement, because that should be the reward in itself for me.
Yes.
Having to go through every single difficulty.
Really? They don't stack?
They don't stack.
No.
Yeah. As much as everybody loves it's such a beautiful game. That is the one gripe that I have with it, that I don't want to do the list.
Oh, God, really?
Because
that's not good. I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't had that kind of situation since like 360 era days, where you'd do like Far Cry. What was the first one? Predator Instincts?
Yeah.
And that was like do each separate campaign.
Wow.
That's the only downside to Hi-Fi Rush, yeah.
I think I'm with you though, Nick. Like I play games to enjoy them. I'm not really there to be challenged, and difficulty achievements in a lot of ways take away from stuff. So for example,
they do.
Like I really, really enjoyed the Star Wars, the Jedi, Fallen Order and Survivor. And as like those games, it's like if you want to get all the achievements, you can play that on story mode and just like breeze your way through it and just be a badass and just I was like, perfect.
Yep.
And it's like has all the Metroidvania stuff of like learning new abilities and finding shit. And also I'm a big Star Wars guy, so like I was all for it. Achievement list is pretty good for those games. There's some minor stuff around the edges, just a little bit annoying, but
I got the 1,000 in the first one.
Yeah, I think the first one is probably it's a bit more of a slightly tighter game. I'm kind of looking through my list at the moment. I really enjoyed Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, like the way that they did their achievement stuff.
I was actually going to say that, was this close to saying that as well, actually. That's
really one of the games I played through twice. That's one of the games I did twice.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, the achievements, you got the last achievement before the end of the game. Like, that last achievement is for sitting on the bench and watching the orca, and, like, you missed the entire last bit of that. But I was like, fuck, I still ran through the rest of it because I was loving that game to bits. But the idea was that like all of those achievements, like I think there was maybe like one story related achievement, and the rest of it was like, hey, do some like interesting stuff in this world.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm super about that. I was like, and it wasn't like overly difficult, there wasn't like massive, and like the game itself like kind of blended in, and it was kind of just like exploring fun things in the world. So I was really a big fan of that.
Okay.
And like an early one that really got me into achievements was the original Crackdown, actually.
Yeah, that's mine. Mine is Crackdown.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that you know, like
Perfection.
I probably could have gone with that collecting 500 of those fucking agility orbs, but in
That
terms
was the
of
game, though.
that's the thing is that
That
like, yes,
was
that
the
is the
game.
game.
People don't realize that about
Yeah.
Crackdown. That is the game.
Yeah.
Crackdown is a game about collecting orbs.
Yeah, exactly. It's about about collecting orbs and then jumping higher because you collected more orbs.
To get more orbs. Like
Exactly.
that,
Yeah. It's the
point
perfect
of
loop.
the game that people didn't realize.
Yeah, I absolutely like I love that game. And just
so
the idea of like the achievements were integrated, like the announcer would say you got an achievement when you got it, and like they just kind of they had in-game menus for it, and it was all kinds of weird wacky shit. It's like, hey, climb the top of the agency tower, and you're like, I was definitely going to do that anyway. Like I was like,
and jump into the water.
Yeah, I was
jump
like,
straight into the water from the top.
Yeah,
100%.
That was the best.
I'm kind of
I still don't have the full 1,000 though in Crackdown 2.
Oh yeah,
I still don't have the full 1,000 because of those 4-player ones.
Yes, yeah, you got to do the glide thing and all that kind of stuff, and
you've got to all follow each other, glide in the line. I'm like, oh my god,
no,
who am I going to
nightmare.
get to do these achievements with me? Like seriously.
Yeah, I can't really think looking through my list except for like the games where you really just you can play the game, finish the game, and then just go back and poke around and casually get this stuff. I'm in the same kind of boat. Like I was just looking at Limbo. I recently did that, and I play that game 1,000 times. And and that is just there is one for finishing it without dying 5 times. And I do I play a lot of racing games, but I also like the challenge of the time trials and all that kind of stuff too. So I don't mind the little bit of extra niggling challenges like Willow when I get this achievement. So I kind of fall into that territory. But I hate the racing games, how it's like finish every single race in the game and then it's just like no, I don't want to, but I will because I like the game. I like the monotony of racing around the track sometimes,
I was like that with Split Second. I got the 1,000 in Split Second.
Yeah, that's good.
So good. It's kind of like going back to one that you said before, Nick. Forza Horizon 2 meets Fast and Furious. Like something like that's such a great list because it just gives you enough of like a sample of what Forza Horizon 2 is.
You got a taste of the world. Yeah.
Love those games. The Forza Horizon 2 Presents ones, they're actually my favorite Forza Horizons because they're just nice and small.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Focused. They're great.
And one last one I'll just kind of put in here. The Spyro Reignited trilogy, I was a huge fan of. The idea was they were like, hey, we've got Spyro, we're bringing it back. Like it's not overly difficult. They're not 3 overly difficult games. And we're going to do like 1 achievement per world that you go to. And it's like, most of them are like, hey, do like a cool, weird, interesting thing in this level that you might have missed. And it was like, again, part of that was nostalgia because I grew up with those games, but part of it was also like, oh, cool, okay, like there's some stuff in here that like was probably in the original game that I just as a kid didn't know about, and so it kind of gives you an idea of like, okay, there's a reason to kind of maybe explore a bit more rather than just going through and doing the collectathon and then fucking off.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
But I'm also sitting at. Let's have a look. I need to do a final count. If TA loads, which it's not, I'm sitting at 2.3 million, so I've got a lot of games to dig through, potentially around like what makes a good
2.3 million what?
Gamer score.
You're at 2.3 million.
Yeah.
Are you still number 1 in New Zealand, right?
In New Zealand, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, 2.3 million.
So I played a lot of games. So I got a lot of bad achievement examples and quite a few good ones as well.
Wow, I can't believe I'm not. I haven't cracked 180 yet. I'm like 179 something. I haven't even got 180,000. I've been there from the start.
Hey, look, I mean, quality over quantity, I think is probably like. It was a big thing where my push to 2 million, I played a lot of trash very, very quickly to be the first. But since then, I've very much been I'm being a bit more choosy about what I play and I'm looking at like, actually, I want to play something that's a little bit more prestige or something has a little bit interesting to it. I'll talk about some of the stuff I've been playing in that camp of just like, hey, that's interesting. I definitely want to play that, or I haven't played that before, or rather than just going, oh, hey, it's new hotness that you can get done in 5 minutes. So let's grab it.
Okay.
Actually, this makes me curious. Nick, where do you think the number 1 person in terms of gamer score, like what score they're sitting on at the moment?
If if you're at 2.3, Rand gave up now. I know he's known as the man with the million, but he's kind of given up the ghost now. I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say that there must be someone at close to 5 now.
Yeah.
There must be someone that's very close to 5.
We've got Redemption at like nearly 4.4.
Oh, 4.4. Okay.
Yeah.
But
we've got 2 people over 4, and then quite a few in the 3s now.
Really?
Yeah, Matt, what are you sitting on in terms of what leaderboard?
I think I'm probably in like 50, somewhere around 55. I probably dropped a little bit. Like I said, after I got to 2 million, I was like, okay, let's maybe calm down a little bit. But
yeah.
I mean, my version of calming down a little bit, which is still playing 5 games a week, but
89th in the world.
89th. Okay, that sounds right.
Wow.
I was sitting in the top. I was sitting in the top 50 for a while.
2 before
Unbelievable.
Ray. 2 after Ray from Brownman, Achievement Hunter.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So not too far off. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'll keep.
Kind of puts into perspective how much shovelware's come out during the Xbox One generation.
Yeah. I was like looking at the kind of list of like how fast people have jumped up, and like kind of because on TA you can kind of see the spikes of when people hit milestones, and there was kind of one of our other friend podcasts, the Xbox Cast. They do a April achievement challenge, where it's like try to get as much game score in the month of April. So I save all the trash for April, and then you just see just jump of just like I just did 10,000 in a week.
Yeah. That's funny.
That's nuts. All right, I got a fun question next.
Go.
So I believe it was you that originally had the rumor mill about the Gears of War collection, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So if you were to be hired by the Coalition as their lead achievement designer for the upcoming Gears of War collection, how would you build the list to best represent the game? And does an achievement with the grind of seriously deserve to continue on within the franchise?
No. Seriously can fuck right off.
One of us.
Yeah, no, seriously can absolutely
That should
off.
be an achievement name, actually. So
seriously fuck off.
Yeah.
I just
It's
seriously.
a 0 gamer score achievement or
something like that. There needs to be a nod to it and be like, no, just seriously fuck off.
Make Gears a baby game.
You'd have, it's a collection. So the assumption is there'll be at least the 3 games in there. So you'd want to, because it all depends. If you're just going to have a standard 1,000 across 3 campaigns, then it limits you a little bit if you don't want to get out of control. So I feel like you're going to, the bulk of the achievements are going to be just completion achievements.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be an effort in and of itself to complete the 3 games.
Oh, it should be the first game with the platinum style achievement.
Yeah.
Actually, it would make sense. Yeah.
And in terms of the online, I'd probably just have like a few bare bones achievements that just sort of get people dipping their toes online. So, play an online match, win a match, kill some people, like maybe have a funny one that's like kill one person and it's no seriously fuck off. Like that's the one tells the seriously to piss off, where you just kill like one person. Just sort of basic ones to dip your toe into and just maybe try and have some throwback ones. I don't know, like try to sort of throw back to the original games. I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Was there anything that people used to do in Gears that was like a meta type thing back on the old Gears games?
Yeah, it was to capture the territory. It's like this circle. Yeah, everyone was going in and out of the circles to alternate getting points for boosting.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of.
But what about in the campaigns though? Was there anything meta that people used to do in the campaigns?
I'm trying to think. It's been so long since.
I know. Like maybe if there was something like that you could do a throwback to.
I mean, if you wanted like throwbacks to achievement types, the all I think it might have been Gears 2. All of the co-op achievements for like playing as Dom were all we're all like mildly homoerotic, I think was the joke that they were going for basically, whereas it was like I think it was like one night dom and things like that, where it was like it was yeah.
That sounds like something Cliff would do.
Yeah, right. That's the kind of humor that you get from Cliff Bleszinski, exactly.
Yeah. That definitely sounds like Cliff. But I know Gears of War as a franchise generally has quite grindy achievements, but I feel like with the collection, they'd probably want to tone that back a little bit and just keep it a bit simpler, I think.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they did like a Halo MCC kind of...
Like a big blowout collection of just
but like MCC does that annoying thing again. Like on the 7th of the month, log on and play
100%.
like,
Oh, trust me, I've got that.
He's done.
Don't do that shit, man. Like seriously.
Coalition is the prime example of a company that doesn't like achievements. So if anything, the fuck off achievement should just be not like having minimal amount of achievements. You know, they don't have to change or edit or anything like that. So like, it's just like get rid of it.
Even have the online one be when you die, and it's like, no, seriously, piss off, or something like that. Like, don't do it.
Cool.
Do you want to get into some news, Cameron?
Yeah, we'll jump over to the news.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so just jumping straight into the Developer Direct. We've all watched it today.
I streamed it.
Yep. I've seen it too now. Mm-hmm.
All right. Do we just want to go through like each game, just share our general opinions, and then go from there?
Let's do that.
Cool.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Like so, straight off the bat, we had the Avowed showing, which is launching in fall 2024. First thing I want to say is that key art is goddamn amazing.
Oh,
like I have not seen something.
Yeah, looks great.
Unbelievable. Have you seen now the logo-less version?
Yeah. As soon as I saw you put the tweet up, I copied it.
Oh, one of my followers posted it, and I'm like, very quickly grabbed it, because I wish like Avowed. Obsidian must have known that people would love that key art.
Yeah.
Like, hurry up and get the logo-less version out there. Don't make me ruin my desktop with the logo.
Right.
Give me the logo-less version, please.
I mean, if you look at like Pillars of Eternity's key art, like you can kind of see where that's been influenced by. Like, hey, it's the same sort of world, same dev team. They kind of, but now it's kind of. I like what they've done with it and kind of expanded on that style.
Yeah. What was what was everybody's general opinion about?
I think it's just fine, really. I've got no experience with the world that they're trying to build it on, but it's everything like I expected it to be, really. So, yeah, I do like the life of behind what the conversations and stuff that they're having with the characters. That's good. That was really, really good. So,
yeah, like I'll be honest, it's not my type of game. I probably won't play it, but from at least a visual standpoint, you saw a noticeable step up from its first showing.
Yes. Yeah.
I really like the lighting in it. So I think it looks nice visually. Nothing, oh my God, this is just the greatest thing ever. But I think it looks nice. And they've got time to tighten it up even more. But again, unfortunately, it's not the sort of game I'm into. But I feel like real fans of Obsidian will probably like just full on sink into it.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to play it for sure. I don't know if it'll be a day and date for me kind of thing, but I'm very much interested because the swords and sorcery stuff is quite interesting, and it has a little bit of the art style I feel like there was a bit of a worry. It was like the original one was quite like a dark, moody kind of looked more like
the CG trailer.
Yeah, the CG trailer, which again everyone was like, oh, okay, is this going to be like a Deliverance, like Kingdom Come Deliverance style, like gritty medieval fantasy game? And then the second trailer came out. The trailer came out, and they're like, hey, it's kind of like quite colorful, and everyone's like, oh shit, okay, this is not. And I feel like they kind of maybe struck a bit of more of a balance here, where it was like, yeah, it's got that kind of, there's like a little bit of a cartoony art style, but it still looks like an Obsidian game. Like, it's the kind of thing where it feels, I don't know, like it feels reductive to say it looks like Skyrim 2.0, but the combat, you got a guy with, you can dual wield whatever you want. The enemies, the combat looks relatively straightforward, which is totally fine. Like I'm not like, most people don't play Obsidian games for, the super frenetic combat. It's more there for the narrative and the kind of the world building and that kind of stuff. And they were quick to say like, hey, we're putting these like, morally gray stuff in there. The kind of things that the people who love New Vegas for New Vegas, for example, who are like those kinds of people who are evangelical about the systems in that game and the things working together and the choices that you make, and having them actually pay off in a way that's not just you get the good or the bad ending, and that's pretty much it.
I did like how nimble the lizard creatures were, though, actually in the combat. So having the enemies be a little bit sprightly it was nice. So
pistols was also interesting. I was not expecting that. The kind of just like the flintlock stuff where you just like pulls out like a couple of guns. I was like, oh, okay.
I was surprised by the guns too.
So I'm waiting till someone modifies, someone puts in a mod for an M60 or something, and you just kind of just go around mowing down lizards. But yeah, I think I'm definitely interested in it. And what I kind of mentioned last week was that, maybe it's a bit reductive to say it's another kind of Skyrim-esque fantasy game, first person, but we haven't actually had one of those for a long time. Like if you look back at like the original release of Skyrim was 2011, and we haven't really had a lot in that genre, at least not from like a big budget developer.
Well, yeah, we kind of have had Immortals of Avium, but that was sort of not quite.
Yeah,
they made it look that way at first,
for sure,
but it ended up not quite being.
It was more like a Call of Duty campaign at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested. And like I enjoyed Skyrim, but back in the day, I haven't really done any replays of it or anything. So I think like the timing's about right to get into a kind of a first-person fantasy game with some depth to it and some interesting moral choice stuff.
I'm interested with the combat. I want to see like what dual wielding wands feels like.
Yeah,
like just from that perspective.
I'm hoping there's a bit more variety to it than just like, oh, this one does fire, this one does ice, and or this one, because they kind of showed some stuff with like earth and that sort of stuff, and I'm curious if they, there was some stuff with like, I'm trying to remember what it was like, gauntlets and stuff like that, and some other.
I can't remember. Did they say something about combining like the left and the right one into different things, or
well, that's
like
what I'm
spells
curious
or
to see. Like, if they're going to
Yeah.
have like how customizable is the spell stuff? Is it just kind of going to be like a stat bonus thing, or is it going to be like different spell types and that kind of stuff?
It'd be interesting. You know how, what was that? Not MMO. That battle royale, was it Spellbreak?
Spellbreak. Yeah.
Like whether they do that combination of gauntlets, kind of certain like fire and earth together.
That was
like
really
certain
good, actually.
Yeah,
like that would be
I mean, Spellbreak itself, kind of a not the best game, but I think there's some,
some good ideas there.
Having some creativity in the combat is kind of, I mean, unfortunately or unfortunately, I imagine a lot of this game is going to be spent fighting things. So the combat, while maybe not everyone's there for the combat as the main driver for an Obsidian game, you're still going to be probably doing a lot of it. So it's important that it actually doesn't get stale too quickly.
Yeah.
Cool. Hellblade 2 launching May 21st. This looked amazing.
Yep.
Yes.
I was so glad that they really went out of their way to point out that no, we did not bloat this game and make it an 80-hour open world, blah, blah. I was like, oh, God, because the whole time I've been like, I'm praying that it's basically as short as the first game. I've been saying for weeks, I hope it's just a prettier version of the first game with slightly better combat. Yeah. And that's pretty much what it is, which is great. I'm completely fine with that. Totally fine with it.
Yeah.
What I'm less fine with is the black bars. Like I didn't like them in the order. I ended up enjoying the order 1886 a lot. But it's like, why do you have them? I'm playing a video game. I'm not watching a movie. Like, I just
You look at how close you are to the actual character walking around. It takes up a lot of real estate on the screen.
It does. It does.
Black bars only exist in Metal Gear Solid, or should only exist in Metal Gear Solid.
That is a playable movie, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember, what was it? Evil Within got a lot of flack for doing the black border thing as well back in the day, and they were
it did too.
And they were like, "Oh yeah, it's like a whole cinematic thing," and then someone tried to patch it out, and the game started running really, really badly. I'm like, "Oh no, this is a frame rate problem that they've got here. This game is pushing the hardware." And like, this game looks incredible, and I'm wondering, maybe it's the cynical side of me being like, well, that's
surely not.
Sure, I doubt it, right? I mean, with the amount of resources that they have for this game, I'm sure it was more of an artistic choice than a technical one. But there is that cynical side of me that goes, but it does probably make the frame rate a little smoother when you have to render less stuff on the screen. You know, probably doesn't hurt.
But still,
probably not.
I'd be shocked if the Series X, like.
But it'll have to run on Series S as well, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then put the bars on that version.
No co-op. Now we're doing doing black bars.
I mean, in the end, I understand that the game looks nice, but it's not an open world, and there is some crazy physics going on. And it's like, in terms of being like, I find, and I'm not a dev, don't get me wrong, so I'm not trying to speak like I am, but this is just through talking to devs and through sheer experience of how long we've been playing games. Just because a game may throw a lot of fancy effects at the screen that look like the game is just really taxing the console, that doesn't necessarily mean it is. Like, it's generally more physics heavy stuff and things like that will usually really push a console more than, oh man, look at the cool depth of field and look at the cool
skybox.
Whatever it is. Like, they fake that stuff these days in a way that doesn't really cost much at all.
I did manage to find the breaking point for the Series X though while playing Baldur's Gate.
I knew exactly that was what you're thinking of.
I told the story last week, but I got to tell it again. So I did a speed run of Baldur's Gate to get the honor mode achievement for, which is like the one save. And I got to the final boss, which I won't spoil anything. But I had a very low level character because I've been speed running. So the strategy is to basically go to one of the fireworks shops and steal every bit of fireworks there and just put them all in a pile and then just throw one firebomb at it and it just all goes up and just annihilates the boss in one hit. Every time I did that, it would crash the Xbox itself. It would just stop. Not like freeze the game, not drop me to the dashboard. It would literally turn my Xbox off. And then when I would turn it back on, it would be like, hey, the Xbox will automatically shut itself off if it starts to overheat. And I was like, I've never seen that message before.
Wow.
And so I kept trying. I was like, okay, maybe that's too many fireworks. Like, because it was trying to render. I guess the problem is it's trying to render every single firework effect at the same time. 60 times, basically. And just completely. I started being like, okay, maybe I could do 10. Maybe I could do 5. And eventually I found a strategy of doing one of them at a time. And eventually just I put fire on the ground and then I would just drop fireworks onto the fire one at a time. And eventually that worked. Took a lot longer. But I was sitting there scratching my back. I was like, I went online and I was like, has anyone discovered this issue? And they were like, well, no one as insane as you just tried to do this on an Xbox. But apparently that's the upper limit, is they can't render 60 fireworks going off at once. That's the...
Interesting. I wonder if people are doing that with Starfield.
Yeah, right. That's the kind of thing too, where it'd be very interesting to see kind of what the upper limits of...
Because you can have like 50 gajillion sandwiches on screen at once and all this sort of stuff. So I wonder if people are doing that with Starfield.
Well, he did it with potatoes, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay because Starfield has, JPEGs for planets. It's fine.
As long as you don't fly into it, That's right. But in terms of, back to the actual game itself, I think I really enjoyed the original game. I wasn't like super I wasn't in love with it like everyone else was, but I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, I played through it twice.
I liked it.
Yeah. And I feel like this game kind of looks like it's addressing the main two concerns they had, which was it was a little bit. You didn't really have it. Well, again, some people might disagree, but it's like the whole thing of they're like, hey, you now have people that you interact with, and there's a bit more of a not you just listening to the voices in your head the entire time. And I was like, okay, cool. There's a bit more of a narrative, like, you know, humans speaking to humans kind of conflict and interesting stuff where it's not just all tortured internals, which, you know, hey, like for the game, the story it was telling, I totally get. And then, yeah, like you said, Nick, the combat, I feel like they've kind of realized that fighting the same enemy 50 times using the same deflect, counterattack kind of thing is not quite the way to go. So I'm hoping.
Don't forget though, the first game was made on a shoestring
Oh,
budget.
100%. Yeah.
Like they are. Well, what I've always said about the first Hellblade and Ninja Theory is that, to me, Hellblade is the District 13 of video games.
Yep.
It's that video game that looks huge budget, but was made on the cheap because of the pure talent of the director. Like Neil Blomkamp started as like a CG artist guy, basically, which is why the CG in District 13 looks so incredible. But that movie, I think, only cost like 30 mil or something.
Which is nuts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you look at it and you're like, oh my God, like look at this movie. And I feel like Hellblade is the video game equivalent. It's got that AAA look about it. It does look like a AAA game on the surface, but made on the cheap. Easy achievement list too.
Sure, for the most part, yeah. The
Hellblade.
PC version and the Xbox versions, two different lists as well. So
yeah,
and it'll never leave Game Pass. So get on that, people.
Yeah, I'm curious on everybody's thoughts. So not getting a physical release.
I mean,
it doesn't bother me personally.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm going to play this through Game Pass.
Yeah, me too.
I still also agree it'll probably hurt the game in terms of its sales potential. From a purely personal perspective, I've been digital for the longest time now, so I personally couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Alan Wake 2 was hurt by not having physical. Yeah. So I'd expect the combination of no physical and being on Game Pass to hurt Hellblade sales potential even more.
Well, coming from retail backgrounds, it's just like having like no physical presence or your visual presence in a store is, you know, you've got to do other things now. So, yeah.
I think the situation, Microsoft obviously has taken that into account when it came to like, hey, let's publish this game. And I'm sure that the expectation of big sales numbers was never really going to be a big thing for Hellblade anyway.
Yeah.
I think this, like, it's very much a niche-ish product, you know, that kind of is a really good feather in the cap for Game Pass and a really, really good incentive to get people playing during what is usually a relatively quiet period in the games industry as well. Like May is a fantastic launch window for that game because it's like we get to like, you know, February, March is going to be nuts. April will probably be relatively quiet. May will be generally pretty quiet. And then June onwards, you kind of get like announcements, stuff coming out towards the end of the year. People's like,
a lot of it, the problem is, I think a lot of people will be waiting for when the Switch 2 happens.
Yes.
And will want to get the hell out of the way of that.
Yeah.
Because if that launches with like a Zelda game, like, or Mario, 3D Mario, or Mario Kart, or something like that, you are going to want to get out of the way.
Yep, absolutely.
So I wonder if that's part of the reason Microsoft hasn't locked anything in outside of Hellblade.
It's a very good point. They were very much like, towards like basically 2024, some seasons on some stuff.
2024. So I just wonder if they're like, okay, well, we know Nintendo's bringing the Switch 2 this year. We know they're probably going to have one of or two of these games there to launch with. Don't know if we really want to launch our game in the same month, because the month that the Switch 2 launches, that's all people are spending their money on. So, but then again, you could argue that if they're already subbed to Game Pass, maybe they don't care. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, system, like... That's Microsoft always. Well, I mean, that's the get stuff like Hi-Fi Rush, right? Which is like, hey, we're shadow dropping it. It doesn't get a physical release. You know, totally different direction. No one's heard about it beforehand, And like, yeah, but it's a big win for Game Pass. It's a game people can play right now on a subscription service that they're already paying for. They're getting just like this added value thing, which, you know, because we talked about it a little bit about this last week, where it was like the idea of Microsoft having something to release to get like a first party release to Game Pass every quarter, which I don't think they're quite going to hit. But like, I can understand the rationale of being like, yeah, we want people in this ecosystem. We want people to have a reason to continue. Cameron, you talked about Ubisoft Plus being a good example of that, right? Yeah. Where every month Ubisoft is like, hey, we need to have something on this platform so people keep paying us for the next month. Yeah. And you know, we kind of held off. Yeah, I mean, you know, like I'm definitely interested in playing Prince of Persia. And then you've got Skull and Bones next month allegedly. I mean, you know, hey, look, like they weren't all going to be bangers. Like, hey, it's Ubisoft. The fact that they've had so many good ones in a row is enough of a surprise for me.
I'm very interested to see like when the Switch 2 or the Super Switch, whatever they want to call it, comes out, what they do with online. Just I
mean,
I wonder like when they're going to like jump up. Like, what if we got Switch games into like online day one? Like crazy speculation.
Oh, that'd be cool. I mean, they'd never do that in a million years, because why would you? Like Mario Kart 8 has sold nearly 60 million copies. Like, even their poor selling games will sell like 3 or 4 million.
Yeah.
So they're just.
I just think like online paired with, you know, having like, you know, a smaller version of Game Pass on a newer console. Like, I mean, all Nintendo stuff to me is their classics.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to have some more backwards compatibility with this upcoming console? Or do you think they're just going
There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of rumors swirling around with the backwards compatibility with the new Switch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors swirling around, so I'm interested to see which way they go with it.
Yeah.
You never can tell with Nintendo, to be honest, right?
No.
Like with like Microsoft and Sony, you usually have a bit of an idea of which way the wind's blowing, but Nintendo.
Microsoft for sure.
Yeah.
Microsoft for sure. The thing with Nintendo is like, and this is me putting my business hat on now, I feel like Nintendo wouldn't give a shit about backwards compatibility because they've already demonstrated this generation that everyone's just gone and rebought their Wii U games.
Yeah.
Without a problem.
At full price, just about.
Yeah. Now, whether that will translate, because you know, Nintendo's had an interesting history, and you know, I don't know. Stop me if we don't want to go down a tangent, because we're supposed to be speaking about the Dev Direct right now.
Go for it.
We're supposed to be speaking about the Dev Direct, and we've now somehow talked about Nintendo. But Nintendo has a really weird history with their consoles. Like, a lot of people forget, like, that up until the Wii, Nintendo's home consoles were selling progressively worse with each generation. So up until the Wii, their best-selling console was the NES. A lot of people forget that. So they sold the NES, then the SNES sold less than the NES, then the GameCube, then the 64 sold less than the SNES, then the GameCube sold less than the 64, and the Wii U barely sold. So I'm going to toot my own horn here and say that that's why in 2014 I said Nintendo's only way forward for success is a hybrid console, one that can play on the TV and on the go. And I have the proof to show that I said that. And lo and behold, here we are all these years later, and the Switch is about to become the most successful console of all time. Like,
and it's essentially a refined Wii U. So
it is. It's the Wii U concept further evolved.
Yeah.
But as the Wii U has taught Nintendo, they've got to be careful with the Switch 2. They can't, that's fine. Everyone rebought their Wii U games, but will that same rule still apply with the Switch? Will people happily rebuy Switch games again? Or is there now an expectation that, no, I've invested, especially digitally.
Yeah, I was going to say digital for sure,
in this ecosystem. You better be, carrying my games across. So I'm very curious. Like I said, the rumor I had heard was that they were going to have two SKUs, one that was backwards compatible and one that wasn't. That's the rumor that I had heard. Which in a Nintendo kind of way
sounds about right.
Sounds like something they do in a very in a weird way. Because that's kind of, to me, it feels like it almost makes sense in a very weird way from a Nintendo perspective, because then they're like, well, we don't really want to support backwards compatibility, so we're going to make you pay for it.
Yeah.
You want to be able to play your old Switch games? You pay for it. That to me sounds like something Nintendo would do.
Because like they have no problem shutting down the Wii U shop or the 3DS as well.
That's right.
So
that's right. But again, you've got to remember the Wii, at least from the Wii U perspective, that thing didn't sell anyway. So I can understand Nintendo, just like Xbox wanted to cut the OG Xbox off at the knees because of how much money it was costing them.
Yeah.
I can understand Nintendo wanting to cut off the console that financially ruined them. That's the only time I think Nintendo wasn't profitable. Their execs took pay cuts so that they wouldn't sack people.
Yeah.
I can understand Nintendo wanting to forget that console ever exists.
And it's
No, go.
I was going to say it's an interesting idea, right? Because I think that the fact that the Wii U sold so badly is almost to the Switch's benefit in terms of those libraries, right? Because when you say, they're reselling the Wii U games, how many people actually played those games on the Wii U? Because who bought the console?
Well, it's funny you say that, and this is testament to Nintendo. This is why I say Nintendo's an exception to the rule. Like, I'm a believer that exclusives don't actually sell consoles.
Sure.
Not in the way people think, at least. Like, the leaked PlayStation figures that we just saw show that even PlayStation owners aren't really buying those games.
Yeah.
It is just the PlayStation is just the casual mainstream console that older gamers buy. It's not, I have to buy to play this game specifically. That only applies to Nintendo, and I feel like there's no other console that proves that more than the Wii U. That thing sold around 13 million, and Mario Kart 8 sold 8. On a 13 million install base. That
attach rate is ridiculous. Yeah.
Microsoft and Sony would slaughter young children for an attach rate like that on their games. They would they'd go nuts for an attach rate like that. They would. That's nuts. The Wii U had million sellers despite being a console that only sold 13 million. So to me, that's proof that people buy Nintendo consoles specifically for their games. So how they handle BC on the Switch, I still think it should be called the Super Nintendo Switch.
That's brilliant. I love that.
I mocked up a logo and everything and tagged them on Twitter. I'm like, here you go, guys, take it.
Done the worst for you.
Should be doing, I use the Super Nintendo font and everything. I'm like, this is all you have to do.
Did they send you a cease and desist? Because that's usually how they get back.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised I still have my account. But I feel like Nintendo's in this weird spot where they know deep down that people will buy the next Smash Brothers and people will buy the next Mario Kart. But if they support BC, all of a sudden people will go, well, I don't think Mario Kart 9 looks different enough to 8. I'm cool just continuing to play 8. I don't think this new Smash Brothers is hugely different. So Nintendo's got a very interesting conundrum in front of them. Because they've got these evergreen games, but they want people buying the new ones. So if they support backwards compatibility properly, it could affect sales of the new ones.
It's true.
So,
and one of the sort of side effects of the Switch's success is they've essentially cannibalized their other pillar of their handheld market. Basically, is it's now one market. It was you had the 3DS was a huge seller as well, and had a lot of really really big high profile Nintendo exclusives on it. And now it's like, hey, that's all on the Switch. Now those stores have gone. It's a really interesting thought. I mean, You're so right though in terms of just like how their approach to backwards compatibility compared to someone like Microsoft, which bending over backwards, being like, we'll make fucking everything backwards compatible. Please buy our console.
Everything we can.
Please, please get into the ecosystem. Please give us some money. We'll do whatever.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really interested to see because, yeah, I had heard about the 2 SKU thing, but Nintendo, we know Nintendo will change on a dime. Like, they don't give a shit. They'll just do whatever the hell they want to do. So I'm genuinely interested to see how they approach it because I reckon if as much like to me, backwards compatibility is massively important in any console. It's why the PlayStation 3 was my favorite PlayStation. But I feel, again, putting on my business hat, I reckon it'll just crater sales of the new games.
Yeah.
Because I don't see the Switch 2 being a massive leap from a power perspective. Switch games, do they look hugely improved from the Wii U? Like, I've got a Wii U. I had it set up until not that long ago. I don't think the games, and even Wii games, like, you put most of those Wii games on Dolphin in high def, they look almost just as good as Switch games. So I feel like if the Switch 2 doesn't demonstrate a really genuine, noticeable leap, and it's fully backwards compatible, I think most people will just be like, don't think I need this new version of Mario Kart. 8 will do me just fine.
And there's no way they're going to pass up the chance to sell a slightly improved version of Tears of the Kingdom, right? It's like, Game of the Year
100%.
contender. People loved it. The only problem they had with it was some performance hitching, and they're like, "Hey, we solved it. Buy the new console."
Yeah, I'm genuinely interested to see what they do.
I can't see the graphical infidelity jumping like that much.
I don't think it will because I don't know if mobile tech has progressed enough to deliver that kind of OG Xbox to 360 jump or that 360 to Xbox One jump even. Or I don't think mobile tech, because again, it's not just about the mobile tech improving to deliver that improvement. The battery tech needs to improve with it.
And it also needs to be somewhat affordable.
And it needs to be affordable.
You'd be really struggling to pay sort of like, ROG Ally prices or Steam Deck prices for.
And it needs to be small. You don't want it to be as big as a Steam Deck. And it needs, there's a lot of things you got to consider when you're talking about a portable console. So I don't envision the next Switch being this, oh my God, look how much better this looks than the first Switch. I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm just wondering, if a Switch 2 even just say it's just a slightly better version of the Switch as it stands now, essentially the Switch Pro. Whether it's actually beneficial for Nintendo because they bet everybody to the punch. They bet the ROG Allies and the Steam Decks and the are we going to get to a stage where it's like, why don't I just get a Steam Deck because it's able to, I can purchase one now in Australia. A lot of it is like Steam Decks just not being available in certain regions.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch that unfold and how it all plays out.
We'll have to get you back on when they launch it so we can look back at these predictions.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Well, that was
back to the Direct.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Xbox did a Direct. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I don't think there's much else. I'd love to see the black bars being able to be turned off. Whether there's
I hope so.
Yeah, certain options.
I hope so.
But Hellblade. I will say I'm very glad we got a date. If we hadn't got a date today, I would have been very upset.
Yeah, everyone would have lost it.
Yeah.
But Colt Eastwood was right. He said in December that he's heard it's May 21st. He was spot on.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good.
Had a good source on that one.
Going into
so they started to sneak in their Square Enix stuff after this, didn't they?
Yeah.
Was that next?
Man.
So
I you saw that I got that DM, yeah, Cameron?
Yeah. Nick, I want to just straight off ask, what the what the fuck are they putting Square Enix? Like, it
I
doesn't
know.
make
That's
sense.
why I didn't believe it. That's why I didn't believe it. I've got the DM. It was yesterday morning at 3 a.m. I got the DM
Yep.
saying, "Oh, the 5th game is Visions of Mana." I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm like, no, it's not.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
believe it either.
Oh, he's
That
gonna
is a
say
third-party
this,
game.
and it's gonna be a gotcha, and it's gonna be funny. No.
Yeah, we
I'm
all
like,
know they're
nah.
just teasing like the little relationship that they've started up with Square Enix now. Like, or maybe
I
it was
assume
because
that's what it
they,
is.
Yeah.
maybe it was because they dumped the that accidental tweet about Final Fantasy 14 a couple of days ago. Like it was that that the beta was live
so.
when the beta is actually due in February on like the 21st or something like that. But there was a tweet. Yeah.
I actually think this had been organized much earlier in advance.
Well, they said
Yeah.
like months in advance, right?
This is very. I think this is very
yeah.
much a. Yeah, I think realistically, like this is very much a. I changed my profile picture to me and Square Enix in it, so we're like, hey,
that was the only conclusion I could come to. Like when they told me Visions of Mana, and you saw my tweet. My tweet was like, I just got the weirdest DM about what this game might be.
Yeah.
And I flat out didn't want to leak it because I'm like, this might be a leak hunt. Like maybe they're doing a leak hunt here.
Right.
They're waiting for someone to say, hey, Visions of Mana, and then they can go, yes, we know exactly who leaked it. Because I'm just like, isn't this a first-party show?
Yeah.
Like, why would Square, of all third parties, be here? Like, I could see EA. Very close with EA. They've got EA Play built into Game Pass. I'm like, yeah, if it was an EA game, that would kind of make weird sense. But I'm like, Square?
Yeah, Ubisoft as well, maybe, in terms of like, because they've got that relationship with the cloud stuff that they've been doing in Europe. They obviously have
or
something going.
Activision, since they
just
incorporated them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Square?
Yeah, they're just
Sega would have made sense.
They're just teeing up their next purchase.
Maybe. You never know. This could be a way to butter them up and go, hey, look how much attention we'll give you if you're under us. But at the time, I just refused to believe it.
I wouldn't have believed it. Like, the only thing that would make sense for this for me is if they ended that segment with, and play
Game Pass.
Play this in Game Pass, which I immediately looked up, and Insider Gaming had a link on Google that had said that it was coming to Game Pass that was retracted, but I hadn't clicked on that link. So I immediately thought that it was coming to Game Pass, but then when I found out it wasn't, I was even more confused.
Do you want to know why that link's there?
Was it you?
Do tell.
Because I told Tom.
Okay.
Because I asked him. I said, "Have you heard what the 5th game is?" He's like, "No." I said, I think it's Visions of Mana." He's like, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah." I go, "But I don't believe it." I refuse to believe that's true. I go, unless it's like a Game Pass launch. Like I said to him, I said, my source is speculating that maybe it's a Game Pass launch. Because that would kind of make sense in a weird way to butter up Square and go, hey, we put it on Game Pass, give you some money for Game Pass, we put it in a developer direct, look how much we love you. Yeah. So I think Tom may have just prepared a little article in advance just in case.
5 minutes.
And you were just shifting the blame on the old witch hunt, so he goes and...
Yeah, I think maybe that was just Tom preparing a little bit of an article in advance, and then he saw Visions of Mana and went, I'm about to press publish on this. But then when he saw no Game Pass, he's like, better yank that Game Pass bit.
It completely makes... I don't understand. Like, the only other thing for me for this would be, like, one of the previous entries, like, that being shadow dropped alongside, be like, hey, here's a teaser of what this kind of games are
like the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Second Denetsu 1 and 2, yeah. Well, 2 and 3, I think, technically, yeah.
What are the Mana games? Isn't it like Legends of Mana?
Yeah, so Secret of Mana was so there was the whole...
Secret of Mana.
So the first one was like, technically was like Final Fantasy Adventure was kind of a weird thing, but like...
Yeah,
but
the Legend series, I think there was 1, 2, and 3, I think.
Yeah, so...
Originally.
Second and then
Second Denetsu, yeah. So
I
I remember
because...
because...
Sacred Sword.
because I remember I pirated the shit out of them as a kid because I didn't have on PC because I had ZSNES and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, you're right. Look at that. The series began in 1991 as Final Fantasy Adventure.
Yeah,
a Game Boy handheld.
Mm-hmm.
Handheld side story. Yeah.
Interesting. Which is kind of weird and interesting. So I guess the first real one was basically Sekiro Netsu 2, which was Secret of Mana, which was like is an absolute like SNES classic. And then Sekiro Netsu 2, which was Secret of Mana 2. I can't remember what the official title was, but I don't
Trials
think
of Mana.
Yeah, I don't think I got a Western release for a long time, if at all. And so there was like a lot of like fan translation versions of it, which is the one I played. But it was a real interesting game because the whole thing was that like it was your traditional action RPG with 3 characters, but you got to pick which 3 that you wanted out of like a group of like 6 or 7, and they each had like their own kind of little
lots of them.
Yeah. The series has been going for ages, and we just never had them on Xbox. They've just been kind of like a very heavy in. That's why I was like, when I saw this, and I was watching Cameron and Shane stream this, and I was like, oh, okay, like I can kind of speculating on why they picked this game for it, and like in terms of like a Japanese historical, or a game with a lot of Japanese history in terms of its previous releases, it's probably a really good pick in terms of saying, actually, like this is a big series, or has been a big or storied series in Japan. We're going to get it on Xbox. It's the first one coming to Xbox. And also surefire relationship with Square Enix. Yeah, sure, we were broken up for a couple of years there where they didn't release any of our games. We're still waiting for Octopath Traveler 2 and Live Alive and all that kind, and all the Final Fantasies. But yeah,
interesting. I didn't realize there was that many Mana games. I thought there was like 2 of them.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So like that's the only reason to me that like including this would kind of make sense. Kind of having like. I'm trying to think of another example. I guess not Game Pass related, but like the Gears of Ultimate Edition, including like the classic kind of games, those kind of bundle-ins. I kind of felt like that was going to creep its head a little, but no, it ended feeling very weird, just leaving me perplexed.
And that's why I said in my tweet, I got a weird DM about what this game might be, because I did not believe it. I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, why would you put this here? Again, they never officially labeled it as a first-party show, but it was understood to be a first-party show.
Yeah. It's being made by developers, so it's on the developer direct,
Yeah, so I just, when I heard Mana, I'm like, God, that's weird.
It just feels like one of those things of like, I really thought the messaging was getting there, like improving, and then something like this kind of just takes it 2 steps back.
Yeah, now the floodgates are open, so it's like, well, okay, well now we could potentially expect, and it's not even a second-party game.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and now you got other devs that are like, oh, well, can we be on, and like that.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing that they've done with this. Again, unless it's a butter up to acquire them.
Yeah.
There are so many, PlayStation games that they've released everything on PlayStation so far that they have, and this is a new one. Like this isn't even something that's come from PlayStation. So
no, this is the brand, which makes it odd too, because you're getting the latest game in a series of 12 games.
Yeah.
Which is weird. So that's why I just think, is this, like, if you look at Microsoft's acquisition history, it's heavily littered with these were formerly associated with PlayStation, or PlayStation kept money heading them and it's pissing us off, so we're just going to buy it. So Ninja Theory, associated with PlayStation. Bethesda, we heard about how Sony kept money heading everything.
Yeah, those exclusives.
Activision.
So they bought it. Activision.
I mean, like COD especially,
the COD stuff, Crash, Spyro, all associated with. So they're like, man, this is pissing us off right now. So they went and bought ABK. The next one left is Square. So, to me, if I'm thinking like Microsoft and they're still on that path of target everything that's associated with PlayStation, Square's probably next on the shopping list.
Especially recently,
Yeah, so we saw Phil on stage. hey, look how much we love Square now. Final Fantasy 14's coming. Now we're like, look, Visions of Mana is at our show. That's how much we love Square and how much we care about Visions of Mana. Maybe it's a butter up.
I mean, if it is a butter up, I really hope that we get all the stuff that Square has released previously.
I mean, I think that's definitely going to be happening with this. This new agreement seems to be that a big part of that. I think because did they confirm Octopath Traveler is coming to Xbox?
I think so. I think yeah.
Like I'd love the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters.
Yeah,
like that.
Final Fantasy seems to be kind of that's the one that they're like actual Square's really holding on to, which makes sense, right? That's their big one. But
well, remake is the one they're holding on to.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
That is the one that everyone is.
Yeah. If we're going to get anything, we'll get Rebirth, and we won't get the first part.
Can you imagine that? That would be nuts.
No, like if they were to acquire Square, Final Fantasy VII Remake and its subsequent games will be like the COD.
Yeah.
Where Sony has an existing deal in place that Microsoft can't break.
Yeah.
Everything else comes to Xbox except Final Fantasy VII Remake for like the next 10 years. It'll probably be something like that. But again, like to me, Microsoft thinking long-term to butter them up to acquire them is one of the only things that makes sense. Because it's not like Square is this hugely financially stable company.
True. They've made some rough decisions. And I think even what Final Fantasy 16 was kind of an interesting one from a financial perspective. I know I saw a lot of conflicting reporting around how successful that game was for them.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of like screaming from the rooftops about how successful Final Fantasy has been for them and this big exclusive thing. I mean, obviously they got a bag from Sony, but
I mean, at what point does Square take a look around them, and just be like, well, hold on a second. Sega's really successful. Capcom's really successful. Namco's really successful.
Yeah.
Why aren't we? And it's like, well, you guys are the only ones taking all of Sony's money hats and not releasing your games anywhere else. Maybe that's the problem. Like, it's not that complicated to work out, because I doubt Sony's money hats are that big. Because Sony are bullies. And if they can bully anyone, they can bully Square. And they can wave their console sales dominance over Square's head and probably get those money hats for pretty cheap. And then Square wonders why they're financially struggling.
That's a good point.
There you go, man.
Coffee Jesus in the chat. I wonder if the old Mana games could come to Xbox Game Pass to sort of bump up the JRPGs on the service, and then Square gets the bag.
I reckon that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's probably a real smart move. I mean, we've seen more Japanese games coming to Xbox Game Pass over the last few years. I mean, like look at the Sega stuff with Yakuza. If you want to talk about PlayStation franchises, Yakuza has been in the PlayStation pocket for Persona too. Like those two have been in the pocket for so long. Like the fact that they were coming to Xbox at all was like ridiculous.
Yeah, well, they could have a look at how well Yakuza's going and Persona doing well, and like that bag is not on Xbox. The Square stuff is missing.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, as much as I'd love like Square Enix to be bought, I think I agree with Nick most of the time. With Sega would be the ultimate get. Just Persona, Yakuza, Sonic, like.
Look,
you don't have to put Sonic in there, Cameron. We can. You can
I
just
like
say
Sonic.
You can just say Persona and Yakuza, and we can forget that Sonic exists.
A lot of my desire for Sega being acquired is the Sega fanboy in me.
Sure.
That migrated to Xbox as a natural evolution of Sega. So it's like a nice full circle thing. But even strategically and business-wise, to me, Sega makes a lot of sense. They get a foot in the Japanese door. They get some pretty decent, handy PC stuff with Football Manager and Creative Assembly and all the RTSs. Like all of a sudden, not Creative Assembly. Who is it that does all their RTSs?
Yeah, it's CA. It's Creative Assembly.
you can merge Relic with World's Edge
Yeah.
and just smash out the RTS space and dominate it. You've got yourself a mascot almost on the level of Mario, alongside Crash.
I'll say Crash and
well.
Sonic team up to kick
So
his
you've
ass.
taken Sonic and you've taken PlayStation's former mascot, and you've got both of them, and then you've got Mario's sidekick from the 64 days in Banjo, all in your stable.
Yeah.
You then have the old men like me to tap into, which they're doing now with Shinobi and with Golden Axe and with Jet Set Radio. Look, there's just so much potential there with Sega, and all of a sudden you've got Killer Instinct, but you've also got Virtua Fighter now, and you've also got Eternal Champions, and then you've also got Last Bronx and Fighting Vipers and Fighters Megamix. So all of a sudden you've got all these fighting games in your stable too, if you want them. I feel like there's so much potential with Sega from that perspective. Square is a salt pick. I don't give a shit about Square, but to watch the meltdowns over Square being acquired by Microsoft would be incredible.
Yeah, that's fair. Twitter would be a great day for that. That'd be fantastic.
Oh my God, it would just be next level. But personally, I couldn't care less about any of Square's games. The ones that I did care about are now owned by Embracer. So
for now.
I was thinking that with I had my mind on like IDOS and stuff like that. Just like the fit with Tomb Raider being
Crystal.
so close. Yeah, Crystal Dynamics, and they're working with Perfect Dark and stuff like that. It's just like there's a pairing there that just works. The dynamic. So
I feel like that's still going to happen. I feel like the day will come, if it hasn't already, where Satya and Phil are going to knock on the door at Embrace and go, dude, before you just go totally bankrupt and shut up shop, can you? Yeah. We'll take these off your hands.
Definitely.
We'll give you a premium. We won't screw you over. Just hand over Crystal, hand over Eidos, hand over Tomb Raider. We'll deal with Amazon.
Legacy of Kain, whatever.
We'll deal with Amazon. You just give us all that stuff, and we'll help you get out of this financial trouble.
That's my dream right there. So
I just want something that's going to keep the devs afloat.
Yeah, I mean,
like that's the
the
biggest.
Saudis didn't apparently. So
I know all these studios, they're just shutting them down. It's like, why the fuck did you buy them, dude? What was your fucking plan?
They made like the biggest gamble and it didn't pay.
But no one, like, I don't think I saw anyone on any podcast, on Twitter, or on the internet, anywhere go, oh yeah, I know totally what Embrace is doing.
Yeah, right. Everyone was they were like the Borg. They were just acquiring shit, and everyone's like, what are they? What's the end goal here?
No one knew. Like, I didn't see a single podcast where there was someone on their show who was like, I totally see what Embracer is doing, and it totally makes sense to me. Everyone was like, what the fuck is their plan?
I think when it was first happening, the only thing that we could speculate was they're picking up a whole bunch of double A's just to try and do a scatter shot effect, and maybe there's some hits, maybe there's some misses. Hopefully the hits outweigh the misses and then carry on. That was the only
basically
thing.
Reinvent the double A industry, but
yeah, but double A is not even that cheap anymore.
No, exactly. That's I mean, fucking indie games are expensive to make. You know, like it's not.
Like game dev in general is no longer a cheap adventure. Like it costs a lot of money to make games, because remember, gamers are the problem. We demand the best of everything. Unfortunately, you have to have the best of the best of the best, otherwise your game fucking sucks. And the funny thing is, gaming media contributes to that shit. Like, if your game, more often than not, and I'm not going to say it's for every game, but more often than not, if your game isn't this big budget, highly polished, super amazing, you get your indie darlings that they fawn over here and there. But on the whole, the focus is on the AAA.
Yeah, it's why, you got your Starfields and your Alan Wakes and your Resident Evil 4s being the in Game of the Year list, which is totally fair. They're fantastic games, but
how did Aspire go from making and failing to make the KOTOR remake to the Tomb Raider remaster trilogy?
I don't know. I would love to. I would love for either Tom Henderson or Jason Schreier or Steve Totillo. I'd love for one of those guys to find out what went on with that KOTOR remake. Like, what is it? So I personally think it's one of the... God, it's another tangent, but...
Take as many as
I
you
love
need.
Culture. I'll talk about Culture all day.
I feel like what happened there was, I reckon... I just saw a friend of mine in the chat.
Yes.
I feel like what happened was maybe Aspire like fooled Sony and maybe showed them something that wasn't really reflective of the game and maybe just overextended themselves. And Sony's like, oh, this is a chance for us to fuck over Microsoft as well. Let's do it. Let's go all in and we'll fuck it in time exclusive marketing, this, that, the other. And then Aspire were in over their heads and were like, oh shit, like we have to kind of deliver on this now. Like we're fucked. And then that's what I suspect happened. But I'd love to find out what that story is.
And they're really over there showing the real game to Microsoft.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think to myself, this is KOTOR. Like, there aren't many games out there that have much more association from a third-party perspective than KOTOR, Splinter Cell. I'm trying to think what else.
Jade
They're the
Empire.
major two. Yeah, Jade. Like
the BioWare stuff with the early.
Yeah, Mass Effect.
Yeah.
KOTOR is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
And I feel like if Microsoft didn't do everything in their power to either lock it down or at least keep it on Xbox, then there's something fishy going on.
Yeah.
Like, why would Microsoft not fight to keep KOTOR? Maybe we now know why. Maybe they saw it and went, like, you guys do whatever you want with that. Like,
I mean, that was when it got announced and they were like, oh, these are the developers. I remember there were a lot of question marks around like, why? Like, it feels like the kind of thing that, you know, you should be having a slightly more, I mean, you know, no shades of them, right? But in terms of like a slightly more experienced developer working on one of the most beloved games of all time.
Well, to that point, Aspire was literally just nothing more than a straight up up-res remake studio.
Exactly.
Like, they would take a Dreamcast game and 4K it. Or they would take a PS1 game and 4K it. Like, that was the extent of what they were doing to that point. Now, we already had that with KOTOR on Xbox through BC.
Sure.
So you just have to wonder, what were they doing and what did they show Microsoft and what did they show Sony that made Sony go, well, we have to have this to stick it to Microsoft. Yeah. I'm just, oh God, I'd be fascinated to hear what happened there. Fascinated. But yeah, actually, you know what? My mate's probably right. Mystic Messiah. He goes, I bet the game was not even made when it was announced. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Would not be surprised if, like I said, I reckon Aspire went to Sony and were like, oh, this is what it's going to be. Here's a CG trailer of, you know, but this is like pretty much in engine. And, you know, this is what it's going to look like. And, oh, my God, and yada, yada. And Sony's like, well, fuck, this looks pretty good. And, hey, we get to fuck over Microsoft as a bonus. Awesome, let's do it. Let's lock it in. And then Aspire's like, yes. And then they went to start actually trying to live up to that and were like, yep, we're fucking dickheads.
Well, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but did that get announced at the same time as a bunch of other Star Wars games? Because I remember that there was a whole thing going on where after EA lost the exclusivity, because there was that Quantic Dream one, the Eclipse, Star Wars Eclipse or whatever, and they showed the trailer for it with the drums and all that sort of stuff, and it was like, oh, that's super cool. And then Quantic Dream came out and said, yeah, that's like 2027 or something. Like this, like we haven't even started on this shit. And so I was
be a Disney thing.
It's gotta be Disney. That was what I was thinking.
Blade ages out. What was the other one? Iron Man ages out. Black Panther ages out. So I mean,
Avengers took so long.
Out.
It took so long that they finished the movies already.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I wonder if it's a Disney thing because when did they show Wolverine? 2022.
Yeah, or they talked. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think it was basically
that
right after
trailer.
Was basically like right after the Spider-Man 1 launch, and they were like, "Yeah, we're working on a new." Yeah,
that teaser trailer I think was 2022, and the game's not coming till 2026.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean,
So that's
like
what
you
I
said,
mean.
game development's
So-
expensive now. It takes fucking
Oh
forever.
no, we know it's
But-
it's not a complaint about how long it's taking. It's more the pattern that Disney seems to get these games announced super early for whatever reason.
Because part of it would be like
and,
recruitment, but then even then, like, I
has
feel
to
like
be
it
recruitment.
falls into
Yeah.
a Disney.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be recruitment. Nothing else makes sense. At least Ubisoft were like, with the Splinter Cell remake, Ubisoft was like, "Yep, this is a recruitment trailer." Straight up, they were just like, "This is a recruitment trailer. Here you go. Come and work on this with us, please." Which I've got no problem with.
I was thinking back to the Star Wars stuff. When was Outlaws announced? Outlaws is Ubisoft's one, right?
Last year?
Last year?
I thought that was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was. It would have been. I think it was June. I think it was. Yeah, because we were all speculating whether that was their big Q1 game that they were going to, or whether it was going to make it this year, or it was going to be Q1 2024. Yeah. I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, but we've known about that kind of for a long time because of the devastation of the Division 2 seasons just going awry. And yeah.
Massive are working on a lot of stuff, aren't they?
Yeah. Avatar was pretty good.
Yeah, I heard it was good. I'm again like Ubisoft Plus, like that's one of those ones where I'm like, yeah, I'll pay for a month of that and just blast through all the games.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I haven't beat it or anything.
Knock out Prince of Persia and Avatar in the same week. It'll be good.
Yeah, it's Assassin's Creed Mirage. We'll do the Crew. We'll do so I've got 4 games there. I can get that done in a week, right?
Yeah. But back to the Xbox Direct again.
You guys hear they talked about an Indiana Jones game?
Sorry, what was that?
Because the next one was Ara, right?
Yeah, Ara History Untold.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say I will just say about Legends of Mana. I'm actually like somewhat interested in playing it. Like it looks fine. I want to see more about it. I don't think I'm like if they add because they said they're going to talk more about it later in the year, which probably means June, right? Yeah. If they say, hey, it's coming to Game Pass tomorrow or whatever, or coming to Game Pass in a month, cool. I'll play it when it comes to Game Pass. I won't be super hyped for it, but hey, I'm glad that they're bringing more Japanese games.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably going to get a day one Game Pass launch for Visions of Mana, and it might be like Yakuza, where they only announce it just before.
Yeah, they haven't quite got the ink dry on the contract yet, so they decided to just hold fire.
I wonder if they did like kind of a Persona level thing of, hey, we'll get like a release date like mid-year, but then you've got like some others like Shadow.
Potentially. I mean, the other thing is that like Microsoft needs Game Pass stuff for the rest of the year, and we don't know basically anything that they're bringing out other than stuff that didn't make it into last year.
I don't know if they're just being cautious about that though because of the 12-month thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, but they've abandoned that now.
Yeah, for sure.
They've abandoned that, but I feel like there's a lot more that's kind of just announced a little bit closer, especially like for the indie stuff. It's like 2 months out. Oh, we know it's going to come to Game Pass then, kind of stuff. If you get what I mean.
We're also on this side of the financial year, which I'm always very cautious about, where it's like, basically, if we don't hear anything until after March, it doesn't surprise me because I'm like, you don't want to make promises for anything when you don't know how much money you've made in the year and how much you need to save or spend or work around. That's when budgets get redone.
Yeah.
Ara history.
So Ara.
Yeah.
Does anyone care?
I don't.
I probably
gonna say it straight up.
Here.
I'm glad it's happening, but like servers. I listened to some of the stuff they were talking about, like the simultaneous turn thing. I think is quite an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Where instead of having like this, hey, you thought ahead, and you're like, I'm pretty like you do the chat thing where you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure he's going to do this move, so I'm going to do this move. But maybe he knows I'm going to do this move, so I'm going to do this. So I feel like there's some interesting something there.
Does he know I know that we know we know?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm kind of like I'm wondering how interesting and deep it might get on that. But where they're like, oh, you can build triumphs, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys. You could just call them wonders. You don't have it's like you guys said you basically people who love Civilization are on your team. So you can just say, yeah, we copied a shitload of Civilization stuff, but we're gonna they kept being like, yeah, we've done things differently to other 4X games. And it was just like, come on. It looks interesting. I don't not for me at all, but
I grew up on Age of Empires, Rise of Nations, those kind of games, and then one of my dad's mates gave me a copy of Civ 3. And I love, Civ 3 is like one of those games that I would just lose entire days to. I'm very interested. Okay, like I've got Civ 6 and all that, but I don't get into it because I feel like the systems and all that are way too complicated now. They've just taken that base game and they've gone like, all right, 4, we're going to add something else. And then 5, we're just going to expand it out. It's just going to be this big bloated thing.
Mm-hmm.
If this was like a Civ 6 looking Civilization Revolution, where systems are like simple, easy to understand, and then it has the simultaneous turn stuff, I would be very interested to play it. But it's going to all fall down onto how well does this play and how well is multiplayer.
Mate, this game has a fucking crafting system and a 4X cam. You're fucked if you want less systems rather than more. No, this is going to be...
Look, I'm trying to convince myself that this is going to be a like understandable game that can just easily do 20 hours in and be fine.
I think it looks really good. And I think they've kind of, I'm sure like the people who are into those kind of games are going to play it and find something in there that's actually interesting and unique. Whether it'll maintain, I'd like, who knows? But I think
like that they're paying attention to PC though. With like, there's all the Age of Empires stuff. There's
yeah, they were just like PC Game Pass, no Xbox. I was like, oh okay, all right, that's interesting. Yeah.
They've been adding what was that recent one that I was talking about that added to Game Pass in December? The City Builder. Survival City Builder.
Skylines 2?
No.
Survival City Builder.
I don't know if it was Surviving the Aftermath.
Yeah, I don't even know. The last PC one I can think of is doing Spice Wars.
Yeah. But like I'm glad that they're paying attention to that market and trying to like I'll be interested to see if they can manage to get this on the console. But
I'm sure it will. It will at some stage.
I was about to say, Oxide's not a big dev.
Yeah.
And look how long it took Microsoft to get Age 4 onto console. So I envision a world where they get it there eventually. It just might take a couple of years. I don't know.
Yeah. There's probably, I mean, the 4X genre on Xbox is nearly non-existent. So I imagine there's not a huge incentive to do it.
There's only Civ 6 essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. There's a couple of some of the other larger 4X, some of the space stuff, I think. But realistically, PC is where that genre lives and dies in the same way that RTS lives and dies on PC.
Any other thoughts? I'll check it out, but that's just me. I'll play one game if it feels right. It feels right. If it doesn't,
I have a Mac.
Oh, okay. Well then,
so I can't play it anyway, even if I want to.
I'm sorry.
Everybody in the chat, apologize to Nick right now.
And that was pretty much it, right? They didn't have anything else interesting to show. They were just wrapped it up with a sizzle reel and
that'll do.
Yeah, nothing else.
That'll do us. Oh, we're already over 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And we're
all right. Indiana Jones. The one everyone was waiting for. The Great Circle, which might be one of the worst titles I've ever heard for. I don't know.
At first, when it leaked that it was the Great Circle, I'm like, what the hell? But once I saw the trailer, I'm like,
it made sense.
That's less of a stupid name now. Okay.
Thematically, it does make a bit of sense.
Yes.
But
what did we all think?
I'm really keen for this.
This game, it looks like an incredibly fun video game.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the best way I can think of to carefully choose my words, because I'm not going to say like graphically it looks just fine. Sure. It's not like oh my god, this is holy shit. But it's not ugly. It's just fine. I think it's a decent looking game.
It's got that machine.
You're looking at it, you can tell Machine Games made it. You were like, yeah, that's the Wolfenstein guys.
Definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. But just like when I saw Halo in 2020, now I'm not going to say that Wolfenstein. I'm not going to say that Indy looks the way Halo looked.
Yeah.
But my point is that we all saw Halo in 2020 and the visuals were like,
you saw Craig.
Okay, I was expecting better than that. But as a video game in that trailer, it looked incredibly fun. And as we've discovered about Infinite, it's a really fun to play video game. Indy looks in a similar vein, better visuals, but it looks like an incredibly enjoyable video game to play. Like it looks like a game I really want to play.
Yeah. Once.
Yes, and I'll probably still skip the cutscenes.
Gameplay is
but
king.
That's right. Gameplay is king, and it looks great. Like Machine Games, I don't think has really from a gameplay perspective. I don't think Machine Games has really missed.
Youngbloods.
I mean, Youngblood's the only thing,
but how did Youngbloods actually play? I never played it, so I don't know.
It's the kind of they took the Wolfenstein model and kind of applied the health bar RPG kind of mechanic stuff to it, and it didn't really work.
Did it feel good to play though?
I think I played like an hour and I immediately put it down. Whereas in New Order, I played through. Like this was.
It's a little hard to pull it apart, I guess, because of the way they did it. But I get what you mean though, in terms of like mechanically. I mean, to be fair, like even Wolfenstein 2 didn't play as well as 1 did, but in my opinion, at least. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think that, but I'm totally with you on the like. This game looks like they're like, hey, yeah, Indiana Jones does 3 things. He sneaks around and solves puzzles and does traps and stuff, and then he fights Nazis. Yeah. And he climbs shit and sneaks into buildings and shit. Like they were like, yeah, tick all the boxes.
Archaeologist.
Did anybody else have the first thought of like, oh yeah, all right, Todd, we've got Indiana Jones, Nazis and all that are going to be involved. Which dev are you going to give this to? Machine Games.
Machine Games. They've already got the models ready of the Nazis. So
yeah. If Nazis are involved and it's punching Nazis, then yeah, it's probably going to be Machine Games.
This is why it's coming out this year. They've already saved them those Nazi models.
I mean, everyone was surprised though. Like, we got that trailer. When did we get the teaser trailer?
2020.
When was that? That might have.
Was it 2020?
I thought it was later. I thought it was 2021.
No, 2021. You're probably right. Yeah.
And it's out 3 years later.
Yeah.
Like,
to be fair though, I think we kind of looking at like Machine Games as trajectory. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
In terms of like when they last put out a game, it's been a while. Like Youngbloods was the last one, and that was
2019, I believe.
Yeah, 2019. Like
So have they been working on this game longer than we all thought?
I mean, probably like this being Todd's passion project. And the fact that they were so cagey around like, hey, you guys doing a Wolfenstein 3? And they were like, oh, we've got some things on the go. And that was it. And like, because the original talk was, yeah, we have to do a Wolfenstein 3 because you have to fight Mecha Hitler at the end of it. Like that was the law, when 2 came out. And then it just kind of disappeared. You never heard any more talk about it. So I imagine they've probably been working on this for maybe 4 years.
Or, and some may see this as a glass half empty view, is this game shorter and smaller in scope than people assume?
I mean, I'll be fine with that. I'm
totally okay with that. Yeah,
I'd be wrapped with that. I love me a short game. I'm over all these bloated 100-hour, 50-hour, 60-hour games.
Definitely seems like it's level based, much like the other Machine Game stuff. I think it's going to be very, very similar to Wolfenstein size-wise.
Probably closer to the first one than the second one.
I think so. That's the vibe I was getting. Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Gone out of their way to respect the IP as well. So there's
respect the first 3 movies in the IP, which they showed in that trailer.
I love that.
I laughed so much. I was like 3, and I was like, are they going to show the other 2?
In my head, I'm like, they're going to stop at Last Crusade, aren't they? And they were like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade. The other movies do not exist. I like that. That was pretty funny. I thought that was good.
Yeah, it was great.
So where are we on the voice acting?
But not a Harrison Ford voice.
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, like, I had already known that Troy Baker was voicing it beforehand, but when I heard it, I was like, wait, is that Harrison Ford? Like, Troy Baker's done a pretty good job.
It is a
Harrison
very
Ford
good job.
impression.
He doesn't sound like Troy Baker, which is the key thing, really. I think
there's a couple of points that he does.
I think it's like the 4th line that I was kind of like, oh, okay, it sounds a little off. And then Shane actually paused in the video when they were doing the capture and said, that's Troy Baker, just FYI.
And the last line where he's like, do you know how old that was? that groan
Yeah.
that he did when he's like, "Oh, do you know how old that was?" I'm like, okay, that sounds like Troy Baker. But in that first 30 seconds, I'm like, oh, hold on. That sounds like Harrison Ford. Like, he's done a decent job there.
Very curious to see how they're going to do that. Yeah.
I don't know if people will agree with me, but I think the Nazi, like that conversation too, that Nazi looks so much like Nick Offerman to me.
Really?
Yeah, that was like the first assumption I got. I'm like, it's clearly not, but I don't know. I'm just seeing too much of it.
I don't know.
I doubt. I very much doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, probably not.
You know what I found funny about that first scene? So the actual character models weren't super detailed.
Yeah.
But the bandage on his nose was incredibly detailed. I'm like, why did you focus on that part so much? Like, it just seemed like an odd thing to be so detailed.
Draws the attention, I guess, of the thing. You always notice it, but it is very strange. It has that. I mean, it has that Machine Games kind of style of human and look, which I think makes a lot of sense.
It does. It very much looks like what would Wolfenstein look like if they made it for Series X.
Yeah, perfect.
That is to me how it looks, and again, perfectly fine. Like, not an ugly game, just not a game that will have people. Put it this way: it ain't gonna be in the running for Digital Foundry's Graphics of the Year.
Yeah,
sure.
But it's a perfectly serviceable, decent-looking game. Like, again, you're talking to an old man who doesn't particularly give a shit what the game looks like, as long as it's fun to play and runs okay. The big debate, obviously, and it's going to be fucking exhausting, is going to be about the first-person versus third-person thing. So I am going to toot my own horn again and say that I had heard quite a long time ago that it was going to be a mix. I got no detail on what that mix would be, none whatsoever. But we're getting a predominantly first-person with the Perfect Dark Zero style.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. I was trying to figure out what was the game that did that remind me of that. Perfect Dark Zero was one of them. Yeah.
That Perfect Dark Zero switch for ladder climbing, zip lining,
which makes sense because.
I think that's the perfect way to do an Indiana Jones game. In all honesty.
Yeah, but look, to avoid being a hypocrite, I had said in the past, when we had talked about this in the past on our podcast, I had said, look, it should probably be a third-person game. If you gave me control and gave me the choice, I'd probably make it a third-person game. But my reason for that isn't a great one. Like, it's not because I want it to be third-person, and it's not because I believe it should be. The reason I would have made it third is purely a marketing bullet point to say, hey, look, we've got Uncharted as well. But I don't think that's a good reason for it to be third person. Because I feel like if they had made this, I mean, have your preference, but I think the way some people are losing it over this is just insanity. I feel like if they had gone third person, the debate would have been, they're just copying Uncharted. They're just copying PlayStation, even though Uncharted is based on Indiana Jones. But everyone would have been like, oh my God, can't they just do their own thing? And, why does it have to be third person just to be an Uncharted clone, just copying Sony? So it's like they were damned if they did and damned if they didn't. In the end, people should have expected it first person because that's what Machine Games is. Yeah, they are a first person shooter studio.
I feel like if it was another developer, it would kind of, depending on what the developer is, it would make sense. But I know with Machine Games, what Wolfenstein 1 and 2 feel like. And that's what gets me excited for this.
Yes.
But
not even just that.
I immediately saw that trailer today and I'm like, I want to just go through, do a whole whip run. And just see how
but here's the thing. There's a few reasons why this is a really fucking stupid non-issue. Number one, we are in a post Mirror's Edge, post Halo Infinite world where all these things are now possible in first person, like whips and grapples and sliding and parkour post Titanfall world.
I was going to say Titanfall 2 was going to be,
you know,
exactly.
We're in this world now where pretty much anything you can do in third person, you can now do in first person well. Edge Runner. There's all these games now that are first person that have amazing traversal and amazing stunts and amazing combat. So I don't feel like people should be concerned about that.
Yeah.
Go. Sorry,
I was just thinking, like along those lines. I think maybe that is the reason why they've done this mix, right? Is because when you do a zip line in first person, right? The first thing you think of is, oh, I'm doing a Mirror's Edge, I'm doing a Titanfall, I'm doing like a frenetic, slide, jump, wall run thing. Where it's like actually Indiana Jones is about he'll do a swing on his whip and he'll shoot a guy and he'll get into a fist fight. But when he goes down, when he's doing his zip lines, it's like that's a cinematic moment. That's not a that's not a free running moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're really trying to get away from that. Like this looks more like a Dishonored style. Like
there's definitely immersive sim elements to this.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was like. I was like, oh, like this, like Wolfenstein has always had, or lately had that kind of stealth aspect to it, and you kill enemies with silent knives and you get more silent weapons and stuff like that. And it kind of looks like they've taken that to the next level, where it's like you can use the whip to like climb up walls and kind of like find other solutions to problems. And it's like, right.
I think like the core thing would have been like you have to feel like you're using the whip. You have to feel like you're solving the puzzles. So, like, and they've definitely showed off, the whip stuff it's there. So
looks cool.
Yeah, it does. It does. Cool. Yeah.
But I saw people complaining at me on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, but what about executions and what?" It's like, yeah, but they can switch to third person if they want to do that. Like, they've already opened the door and said, "Look, these certain things will be third person." So if Machine wanted a third person execution that looked really gory and brutal and whatever, they can put it in there right now if they want to. Yeah. So if it's not there, it means it's not there by choice. And even if the game was in third person, it still wouldn't be there. Like, this isn't the stuff that you're not seeing and you're worried about and you're blaming the first person camera. You can't blame the first-person camera because they're happily putting some moments in third person. So this is everything in this. Nothing is being limited. Everything is by choice. Mm-hmm. So, Halo goes into third person for executions. COD goes into third person for executions. And Indy goes into third person for ziplining and ladder climbing and whatever else they've done it for. So if there's something not here, don't blame the camera. It's they have chosen to do it that way for whatever reason, but it's definitely not the camera because they've got that little thing in their back pocket where if they want to do a cool third-person thing, they can because it's already in there.
Yeah, you pull a lever, you see it in third person for some reason.
Yeah.
Why not?
So it's a stupid thing to complain about and to blame the camera angle for. Because they've given themselves that out if they want it. Yeah. And the other reason the whole argument is fucking stupid is because even in third person, you're only looking at the back of the character. Exactly. So you're not seeing Harrison Ford's face while you play anyway. Like, the only way you see Joel's face, the only way you see Drake's face is if you stop, turn the camera, and look at it.
And in Resident Evil 4, they clearly did not want you seeing the face. So
like 99.9% of the time, you're not seeing the face of the character in third person anyway. So I don't understand what's like, but it's Harrison Ford. We want to see his face. So you'll see it in the cutscenes.
The cutscenes, which you'll skip, so that doesn't really matter, but
I mean, I won't see them in the cutscenes, but normal people will see it in the cutscenes. So I don't know. I saw people getting irrationally upset about this, and I'm just like, bloke. Like, don't be a gronk.
I just came out of playing Resident Evil 7 in VR, and like the DLC for that just has you punching absolutely everything, and that was the highlight of my experience. I just fucking loved it. Just like the whole thing. I'm just seeing what's going on with the punching in Indy, and I'm just like,
That's cool.
I'm down for it. Yeah. So it's great. So
I get it. I understand people
Yeah.
wanted it in third because they wanted to check off the box and say, "Here's our Uncharted. We've got our Uncharted."
Yeah.
It's just
It's a non-issue.
it's such a non-issue. I understand you wanting it, and if you want to, you are entitled to your feelings. If you want to be disappointed, be disappointed. But don't go off the deep end about it. As long as the game is great, I don't think you should be too stressed about the camera perspective.
And someone will
the
try
game
and
does
mod
look
in
great.
third person anyway and
Yeah,
break the whole
on
fucking
PC
thing.
it'll get modded to hell and back, and it'll be in third person the whole time, and it'll look weird and janky. And that's the thing, like, you know, I saw people saying, "Oh my god, this looks so janky" when it's in third person, which I did notice a little bit of that. And what that tells me is that it probably wasn't originally planned as being both first and third, because you know how, you know how now when you see on PC some first-person games get modded and they add a third person.
Cyberpunk is the best
odd,
example of that, right?
And it just looks odd because the developers didn't design it with third person in mind, so they didn't animate it the way you're supposed to animate it, and they didn't do all the things you're supposed to do when you're designing a third-person game, which is why it looks janky when you do that. And that's why when you see Halo do an execution or Call of Duty do an execution, it looks great because they intentionally put it there and did all the things you're supposed to do and animated it properly and everything. The way the third-person moments looked gave me the impression that the third-person thing was added later in development, because they saw the scuttlebutt online and they saw people talking about how we want third person. I feel like that's something that got added fairly late in the game to tick that box, but because they didn't build it that way from scratch, that's why you see that little bit of jank when you see it go into third person. That's just the impression I get.
Yeah, I'd be quite happy with a setting that just takes away the ability to use the third person perspective with all of the switches.
Yeah,
and
I
stuff.
couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Yeah. The game looks great.
Yeah. They probably going to play it day one Game Pass for me, I think. Assuming the achievements aren't broken, which hopefully not.
Hopefully
if they put a Mind Laban achievement, Machine Games is going to get a visit from me. I'm telling you right now. Like, I'm not.
Don't make great games and then just have a terrible achievement.
Make me play through them all in one sitting on the hardest difficulty, and if I die, I go
just let us play on easy.
Yeah, come on,
an Indiana
mate.
Jones game.
Exactly.
Just let us enjoy.
I'm supposed to beat the Nazis every single time. Like, come on.
You don't want the Nazis to win.
No, exactly.
Just let people enjoy the game the way they want to enjoy it. We've given you your money. We've given you your money. Exactly. So what difference does it make to you if I don't play it on veteran? What difference does it make to you? I gave you your money. Stop busting my balls and just let me enjoy the game.
Realistically, like, when are we thinking this releases?
November.
End of the year.
Yeah.
October, November. Yeah. Probably November. They probably want to give themselves as much time as possible, to be honest.
I'm already seeing speculation. I reckon this is going to get delayed into 2025. I'm like, no. Like think about it logically, right? Not that it's impossible, but the way people are talking, it's like they think Microsoft and Bethesda are bullshitting us. Like, think about it. We went from a teaser / recruitment trailer.
Exactly. Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago to all of a sudden here's all this gameplay and it's this year.
Yeah, but
I don't think they're doing that.
Yeah.
If they secretly know it's going to be delayed.
Not only that, but you've got to consider Todd Howard and his release. Like, he hates delaying games. Like, he didn't want to delay Starfield, and like all of his other games are on point. So it's just like he's not going to make the same mistake that happened with Starfield. That's not going to happen. So when we get a release date, that's probably going to be it. So.
And Todd's wasn't Indie the other game that he's like been pitching back like as far as 20 years?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
a long time.
Yes. Yeah.
To the point where I almost wonder, and that's why this game has come along surprisingly quickly. You have to wonder if if he's been buttering up Disney for many, many years about wanting to do an indie game, got Machine on it before they even got approval, which is why they've been so cagey on Wolfenstein, because maybe they had started Wolfenstein.
Yeah, I could see it.
And then Todd's like, nah, guys, I reckon I've got Disney in the bag here. Start working on indie, start planning, start your
just do a vertical
pre-production.
Machine,
Get going. Build me a vertical slice that I can pitch to Disney. Like he did basically a Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool thing.
Yeah.
Effectively.
So Machine Games turned around and went, oh, we've got this scene for the new Wolfenstein. It's this where you jump from one plane to another. And Todd turned around and he's like, maybe if that was Indiana Jones.
Reskin it. Reskin it and make it all indie, and I'll present it to Disney, and we'll get it. So I reckon, I do wonder if they took a massive gamble, started work on indie before they had the deal done. In secret.
So what we're saying is Mecha Hitler at the end of Indiana Jones confirmed.
Sure. You know what? It's like, hey, we built the asset. I'm not throwing it away.
I don't know. I reckon it'd be one of those fun stories where years later, after the game's come and gone, and Todd's like, well, actually, we actually had them working on indie before we even locked it down to be able to make it. Like we took a huge risk and like started making it before the deal was done. I reckon that'd be an amazing story to hear.
Man, I'd love like Todd biography of like the last 20 years of game dev.
But I just enjoy hearing those behind the scene stories about these games. I just like hearing them.
I was going to say before with the Coda thing, like 100% first thing that jumped into my mind was the day before. Like I'm just imagining they unveil it and it's just entirely the original day before kind of pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, if Todd Howard puts out an autobiography, it better be called "It Just Works." That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I just think the fact that he's like wanted an indie game for such a long time, and then I just wonder if back when Sony got Spider-Man, and then there was a couple of other Disney games and Star Wars games. I just wonder if Todd started the wheels in motion back then.
Yeah, Disney's an interesting one because, like, if you look at them from, not to go on too much of a different tangent, but like if you look at them from their history in the games industry, you know, that they kind of dipped their toe in with their own studios, completely fucked it, and then we're like, okay, maybe we need to start licensing this stuff out to people.
We got some gold though out of that.
100%.
Black Rock Studio. Yeah. Fuck, man. Like, Split Second and Pure.
Yeah.
Man, they were some good games.
Disney Infinity, also not the worst.
Disney Infinity, I thought, was great. I have so many of the figures on my...
Me too. I've got a lot of them too.
Like, I've got a lot of them. There aren't that many I'm missing. I'm spewing I never got Black Spider-Man. I saw him sitting there at Target one day.
I had a conversation about that the other day with somebody. I don't have that either, so...
Yeah, I'm spewing I never... That's pretty much the only one I'm missing that I wish I had. All the rest of them I've got. I've got Maul and Vader and Kylo Ren and Iron Man and Hulkbuster and I don't know. I've got them all. I've got them all. They're so good. What a tangent.
But I guess, to wrap up the direct, do we have any sort of closing thoughts? Relatively happy with the show and the stuff they showed off? And I mean, probably wish that maybe...
It's what I expected.
A little bit nice to have maybe a little bit more clarity on end of year dates, but I'm sure maybe they don't even have those nailed down yet.
I just think they gave themselves space to not have to announce a delay.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
I think this format's perfect though. Like, just give us some gameplay. Give us like what this stuff is. Like,
look,
set us up.
This format has its place. Like, would I want every Xbox show to be this? No. Like, but I feel this format has a place, right? And I'd be completely okay with January being the designated developer direct month. And every year we know, like, it's safe to say now that every January we're probably going to get a developer direct, especially now the third party is on the table. You know, I had sort of heard we were going to get this direct back in December, like early December. So I was like, okay, so they're doing this every year quite clearly. And I'm completely okay with that. I like the idea that they're now in a position with ABK especially, and anything else they may acquire in the future, where they can do a whole shit ton of different shows. Like I like the idea that they can do a developer direct, but they can also do the showcase, which is the throwback to E3. But then they can also do an XO19, an XO if they want to. Or they can just appear at Gamescom, or they can appear at TGS. Like I like that we can get all that different stuff from them. Nintendo has their way, and they only do it one way. Sony gives us two ways. Sony gives us a state. So if it's a state of play, we know to temper our expectations. If it's a showcase, get the hype up a little bit, because hold on, Sony's about to say something here. I like that Microsoft gives us that variety in their stuff.
And January's a great spot for it, right? Because people are interested in what's happening this year. They're like, hey,
you're starting the year off.
Is anything coming out this year? Yes. Yes, it is.
I like it.
And even if they just do coming 2024, they can always just drop the announcements mid-year.
Yeah. Whenever they want.
They get another press cycle out of when they drop the release date, which works for them.
They can do it at the showcase. They can say, here's some updates on games we had showed you earlier in the year. Yep, Indie is here. Ara is here. Whatever. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and they can save the release dates and announcements for just all the big shows or whatever. So
it's funny. My mate made the same joke I was gonna make when I talked about, when Sony does a showcase, you better listen up. And I was like, I was gonna say except in 2023, but he made the joke for me. Look, when it comes to Sony, I'd probably even temper for 2024.
Well, we'll see how many of the 12, now 6 live service games are still planned to be made by the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, look, I understand why they're going scattershot, and that's because not every live service game hits. Like, I reckon Sony would be absolutely stoked if 2 of those are a success.
Yeah.
They'd be absolutely, maybe even 1.
Yeah.
Maybe even if 1 of them is a hit.
If Bungie likes 1 of them, I think that'll be a success for them.
Yeah. Like I reckon Sony will be wrapped if just 1 is a genuine success. I'm not talking Fortnite level, because I don't know if that will happen again. But if Sony can have a Payday or a Dead by Daylight, or something on that level of success, they will be wrapped, because we've got this thing, Fair Games. Let's say it's Fair Games. We've got Fair Games, and we've got Destiny. We're about to have Marathon. We're golden for now. Okay, pump back into the single-player stuff that everyone knows us for. And then maybe at another few years down the road, there's another... They've gotten their feet wet with games as a service. They've kind of understood the meta and how you get people to keep coming back and make it successful. And they go, okay, here's another one now. Like, that's probably where their roadmap is going with this games as a service stuff. Because I see a lot of people clowning on them going, they're all getting cancelled. I reckon Sony fully expected that most of them would end up cancelled. They're not stupid. I doubt they were expecting all 10 of them to be like massive.
I'm sure they didn't expect all of them to be successes, right? I mean, you've seen so many. Like, if you look at the landscape, like you'd have to be a moron to think, we've got 10 ideas and they're all going to hit it big, and we're going to split the market into 10 perfect pieces.
Like Microsoft. Microsoft has vast experience in games as a service games, and even they don't have a massive number of hits. They've got more than your average bear, but they've got Sea of Thieves, genuine success. Minecraft, which isn't really theirs. It's cheating a little bit because they bought it. Again, in the interest of cheating, they're now going to have COD. But in terms of the ones they made, their successes are probably Sea of Thieves, and I'm trying to think what else.
I mean, you could have made an argument for Halo for a little bit, but even
Yeah,
then,
well, I mean, on that
hot and
vein,
cold on that, you know.
I mean, Halo's coming back.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
Halo's
Microsoft
sort
have
of in and
owned,
out.
Yeah.
they've owned Mojang longer than they were on their own.
Independent.
Independent.
I know,
yeah.
but
But they haven't brought out,
so-
like, they haven't done, like,
yeah.
you know, like, even like Minecraft Legends, they're like, hey, we're not
Yes,
doing any more of that.
that's right.
Yeah.
And let's not pretend that Minecraft wasn't already a bit of a smash when they bought it.
That's why they bought it. Like, they're under yeah, exactly.
I'm not denying that they didn't grow it.
Sure.
No,
but
totally.
Well, I guess in
It's
the
in
same way
schools
that
now,
in the same way that Sony acquired Bungie,
Yes.
right? Because of Destiny.
So
Yeah.
So Microsoft, I will fully give them their due and say that Microsoft turned it into the juggernaut that it is now. But let's not act like it already wasn't a successful games as a service game before Microsoft bought it. So to me, I'm 50-50 on counting Minecraft as a Microsoft games as a service success. I'm 50-50 on that. Sea of Thieves, 100%. And the fact that we're struggling to think of another example shows you, my stupid emojis from the iPhone. The fact that we're struggling to think of a second shows you how tough it is to make a successful games as a service game. So that's why I said Sony would be wrapped with just one. If they can have a Sea of Thieves, they'll be wrapped. Absolutely wrapped.
Maybe a Sea of Thieves as today, as opposed to a Sea of Thieves at launch, but...
No, of course, but how many games as a service games launch out of the gate?
Well, none of them.
Well, Apex is the closest.
Maybe the closest. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a perfect example, but it's probably the closest we have to a games as a service game that shot out of the blocks and was loved by most. Really solid, the whole kit and caboodle.
Sure.
But I'm actually struggling to think of one more than Sea of Thieves that Microsoft built themselves. State of Decay was...
I mean, Grounded's pretty big.
Oh, yeah. Grounded's doing pretty well. Yeah, forgot about Grounded.
Yeah,
Grounded's doing pretty well.
Is kind of sort of straddles that line.
I think
Grounded
in terms of success story, though, just with the size of the dev, like 20 people building that out.
Yes, I do wonder if Grounded's success, a lot of it is to do with the fact that that game cost probably very little.
I was going to say, that does help a lot when you have low overhead.
Yes, if the team is small and the game costs you very little to make, then the measure of success adjusts with that.
Yeah.
So again, I'm sure if Sony can get themselves a Grounded, they'd probably even be happy.
Yeah, sure.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Sorry for blabbing so much.
No, that's great. In terms of news, Cameron, is there anything here you really want to touch on, or do you want to?
I quickly, we can get rid of the GTA story. I want to quickly touch base. Rock Band's been doing weekly DLC for the last 8 years.
Yep.
Yes. Finally announced they're bringing it to an end.
Yep. Pour one out.
And I imagine the devs are just going to be completely working on Fortnite's... what's that music mode called? You'd know, Nick.
Festival?
Yeah, I think Festival.
I think it's Fortnite Festival or something like that.
Yeah.
I tried it. I can't play it on a controller. I can't.
Okay.
I just can't play it. I'll buy the PDP guitar when it comes out.
Give me the PDP guitar. Let it be able to be used on consoles. Corner the market.
Yes. Yep. That's what I reckon. Just make it work across any music game.
Yeah.
Any music game. Because the yellow button on my Guitar Hero guitar is either dead or dying. So
I've got my Rock Band one sitting in the corner there, and I think it's rusted up. So
yeah, and the harmonic stuff has had a good tradition of being able to work multi.
Yeah.
Like
the other way, not so much, but harmonic is pretty good about it.
Yeah.
I will definitely play that mode a lot when that guitar comes.
Yeah, I've got one of the Guitar Hero 2 wired controllers, and just being able to use that, the wired ones that you can use with Clone Hero on PC. And oh boy, I'm not letting that ever go.
Yeah, I broke mine, and I've been sad ever since.
Been trying so hard to get like Rock Band 4 instruments. Rock Band 4 exists in this house only as a SingStar clone.
Yeah,
which is really sad.
How good was SingStar though? How good was SingStar?
Yeah, it was good
on PS3.
Yeah,
the PS3 version of SingStar. God, that was good. I pumped a lot of money into that. I legitimately bought a lot of songs for that game. Like I was with Sony support because I went from the black fat PS3 to a silver slim, and you had to go through this fucking arduous transfer process. Oh my God, but you had to be on the phone with Sony, and they had to do this transfer on their end. And then it's like, okay, do this now, and then download all your music. I'm like, fuck me dead, guys. Like, are you for real right now?
The days before the digital library thing was all fucking sorted is so nuts.
Oh, especially on the PS3.
Even with the digital library now, I'm a bit worried because they were getting rid of, what was it? Is it Natural Discovery or something like that?
Oh, Discovery content? Yeah.
Discovery content, yeah, on PlayStation. So I'm a bit worried about something.
The licensing thing is always going to be a nightmare.
Yeah,
I know. Hey, Tasmad in the chat, Lips was decent. I've got Lips. I didn't mind Lips. Stupid name. Fucking stupid name.
Yeah.
But wireless mics, the ability to import your own music and sing to it. Yeah, you didn't get the words, but if you knew it, you could just sing to. Lips was pretty good. I wish Microsoft had supported that more. I liked Lips. Lips was good. I've still got my Lips and the game and my mics. I've still got SingStar and my wireless
I've still
PS3
got all
mics.
of that too.
I've got all of it.
The only
I
problem
love that
with
shit.
Lips for me is discontinued achievements.
Yeah,
Which you can imagine with the 360.
Yeah.
What do you mean discontinued achievements?
They have some online achievements.
It was a couple of leaderboard achievements that would have taken 2 seconds for me to go online to get as well, and I just did not get them. It's like look at a leaderboard or something. Yeah.
Oh my
I got to a point in COVID where I just started collecting all the old accessories as much as I could. Like the U-Draw tablets and the Lips and the...
Oh, yeah, U-Draw tablets.
Yeah. Oh, I got the U-Draw tablet.
That came from the creator that did Elite Beat Agents on the DS, and I was just like, if that relationship continued, that would have been so good.
Love that game. It's a shame they never ported the second one to the West.
I'll quickly move on. Tomb Raider 1 through to 3 are remastered. Will have over 200 Xbox achievements.
Which is interesting. You usually don't get more than 99.
Yeah. That's a collection that I'm looking forward to coming up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. They might have the 3 platinums on PlayStation, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why they're doing it that way.
Would you believe I've never played through one of the original 3 Tomb Raider games from start to finish?
I haven't either.
Controversially, I don't think you're missing much. I think that, from a tech perspective, incredible games.
Yeah, I was worried about how they were going to translate with the old controls because they're just so dog shit compared to what has come now. Yeah, but I mean, they're actually adding the anniversary style controls, and you can switch between the old controls and the new controls, so you can actually play it one way or the other.
Great.
Yeah. So
I really enjoyed.
So keen for it now.
Valhalla? The one with Underworld.
Underworld.
Yeah. And Legends.
Yeah. And Legends and Anniversary.
The ones that Crystal did, those first older ones that Crystal did, I thought they were fantastic games. I played those ones.
They still look pretty good today, actually, if you play them.
Yes. I remember playing Tomb Raider 1 and trying it out because I didn't have a PlayStation 1. So, back in 96, I had a Saturn. I was a Sega fanboy, so I had a Sega Saturn. So I did not get to... Actually, Tomb Raider, I think the first one came out on Saturn.
It was on the Saturn. Yeah.
So I remember trying it and not particularly liking it that much. Never played 2, never played 3. I do find it incredible when you see those guys that play it blindfolded.
Yeah,
because of the grid system that it uses, you could theoretically play that game without looking. And I think that's just
insane,
incredible. But yeah, for those that want the OG games, have you seen the RTX mods for Tomb Raider?
I have not.
No.
Have a look at that.
Something that I bat on about on my show a lot is that I think lighting is by far the most important visual element in video games. I guess my saying is that great lighting can even make an ugly game look incredible.
I can see it.
And when I saw the Tomb Raider ray tracing mod, that was the definitive proof that lighting can even make an ugly game pretty. Like it's the original Tomb Raider with the blocky graphics and all, with full ray tracing, and it looks so damn good, despite having PlayStation 1 visuals. It still looks incredible, and it's just literal proof that good lighting can make any game look great. Any game. A mate of mine on Twitter posted it. I'll need to send it to you guys so you can actually see it because it looks ridiculous.
Hell yeah.
Sorry.
The achievements are on TA, right? Are they?
They wouldn't be up yet, would they?
Article, so
but the achievements
like
themselves aren't out yet. No, okay, they're just previewing it. So
Yeah,
I'm very curious to see what the list is because those games, I mean, there's a lot you can do in those games.
Putting this link in the chat.
Beautiful.
Check out that tweet that I just posted. And look at OG Tomb Raider without ray tracing and then with.
Yeah, that makes all the fucking difference, doesn't it?
Look at that. It's the same game. There's no improvement to textures. There's no improvement in it. It is the same game with ray tracing on.
Just need a couple of gold rays and everything looks so much better.
Look at that. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
All right, well, we'll chuck that in the Discord for our listeners as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Unbelievable.
All right, Cameron, what else you got?
I'll skip the GTA one, but there is a few discontinued achievements coming to Xbox One.
So get those done if you have time.
Yeah. Fans think Elden Ring DLC could be just around the corner after a Steam update.
People have been thinking Elden Ring DLC's been around the corner for months. Every week I hear a news story about how it's just around the corner.
They thought it would be at the Direct.
Yeah, exactly.
The only reason I quickly wanted to mention this was both the YouTube channels have been EU and US, have both been updated. Yeah. But I'm just like, do we think the DLC is coming out anytime soon?
Sometime this year, but not anytime soon. You know, like I loved Elden Ring. It was my game of the year it came out, which is 22, I think. But we're in 24. It's been a while. I'm very curious to see what they would even do with the DLC. Yeah. Also, it probably won't have achievements. They traditionally don't. So I'm,
Will you go back to it if it doesn't have achievements?
I might do. I probably won't like rinse it like I would if it did have achievements, but I probably will check it out. Because Elden Ring is, I mean, I love the Souls series. Dark Souls is one of my favorite games of all time. Elden Ring was pretty. I mean, it was fantastic. I don't want to undersell it. But I'm just curious what they would even do with the DLC. Maybe they just add a new area and all that kind of stuff. But I think they even recently just came out and said they're like, yeah, it's progressing, and that was pretty much all they said. And it's like, okay, cool, all right, it's not dead. Maybe they'll have another trailer that actually show what it looks like. But I don't think it's anytime soon.
They can do what they want. They're in a position where they can literally just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
We might get another Armored Core.
Fuck yeah. You kidding me? Hell yes.
I still need to get around to play that.
It was good. It was really good. Cool. Maybe not play through it 3 times good, but still very, very good.
All right. I'll quickly just touch base with the Game Pass updates. So we had Those Who Remain F1 2023 and Turnip Boy Robs the Bank drop. We had Powell drop today, which one of my friends is very excited for.
Oh, okay.
Then 25th, we have Go Mecha Ball Phantom Abyss version 1.0, which I believe Aussie devs. I think they got recognized at the Australian Game Awards.
Oh,
pretty cool. And January 30th, Brotato, which I'm very keen for. Very well received Steam game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember I saw some pictures of it. Everyone was like, "Oh, is that
Vampire Survivors?"
Is that Vampire Survivors with the potato?"
Yeah. I mean, it came out about the same time, so yeah. Other notes is Hitman: World of Assassination is leaving Game Pass, as well as F1 2021, which is no surprise with F1 2023 being added. Frostpunk 2 got confirmed for Game Pass, and Stalker 2 got a September release date.
It got delayed to a September.
Sorry, got delayed.
Yeah.
That is true.
All right.
I think people can give them some.
Yeah. That is one studio
in circumstances.
They can take as long as they fucking want. Yep. No problem here.
Yeah.
Man, so fucking rough. Games we've been playing. Nick, do you want to go first?
I have up until yesterday. I've been playing nothing but Prince of Persia. Yeah. For basically like 2 weeks.
Right? I'd love to hear about it.
When did I get the Prince of Persia? I don't even remember when I got it. Maybe like a week and a half. I can't remember. That's all I've been playing. Like not many games really rip me away from Rocket League.
One of
there
those.
aren't many that can do it. But my Rocket League activity went right down the last week and a half or so because of Prince of Persia. It's just, man, like I adore Metroid Dread. It has its problems, but I adore it. Like it was my game of the year for 2021, and I like this more than Dread.
Wow.
Like I like this game more than Dread. Like it's still close, and if it wasn't for the Stalker Emmy, whatever the name is in Metroid would be even in hot, because I hate Stalker mechanics in video games.
Sure.
I just fucking hate them. It disappoints me in Resident Evil 2 that Mr. X is there, because again, another incredible game brought down by a Stalker. And I get it. People that do know me will say, but Nick, you love Alien Isolation. But I went into Alien Isolation knowing I'm dealing with
That's what the game is. Also, that's an amazing game too.
Yeah. That is what the game... Oh, I got the Platinum on PS4. Absolutely adored it. Like, if I'm going into the game knowing it's a Stalker game, then it's on me. But if I'm going into a game not really expecting a Stalker, then it's a bit different. Don't get me wrong. I think we kind of knew with Dread.
Sure.
It's just, I don't know. Prince of Persia I like more. It's just, all the hype you're seeing is legit. It's a fantastic game. Like when Rand started playing it, he was DMing me. He's like, I don't know about this game. I'm like, really, dude? He's like, yeah, these first few hours, man. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, they've got to introduce you slowly. Like, they've got to get you into it a bit slowly.
Where are the mechanics?
Like, it's A, it's Ubisoft, and B, it's a Metroidvania. So they're not going to just throw you in and whatever. They're gonna tutorial you a bit, and they're gonna handhold you a little bit, and then they're gonna set you free, and then you're gonna. By the end of it, he's talking about it being one of his games of the year already. Like, he adores Prince of Persia now, and he's 100% at it and the whole lot. So I think the hype is real on Prince of Persia. I'd struggle to find someone who legitimately does not like that game. It's so good.
Play that next week, aren't I? Christ. Okay.
It's so good.
We'll just jam that in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Lose a bit more sleep.
It's just like, give me more of that. Like, if they want to avoid the AAA crash, then do more of Prince of Persia.
This is what we were trying, again, not to get on too much of a tangent here, but like this is what we've talked about in the past of like smaller projects from larger developers, like this stuff like Pentiment, where you're like, oh, that's a small, interesting idea that you don't have as much risk to make it because you've got a big dev making a small team going, we'll do an interesting thing, we'll put it out on our subscription service, and people will play it and enjoy it, and that's it.
Yeah,
great, all for it.
You know what? I really hope Ubisoft of all publishers kind of experiments with that formula of like doing a lot of like if they just did a thing where they were making all these little side projects like this Prince of Persia game and just dropping one like every 2 months for Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, well, it's just getting back to the spirit with like Rayman Legends and stuff like that. Those games were great.
To say, they were doing it. They did do the Rayman games, and they did was it Valiant Hearts?
Yeah,
So,
Child of Light and stuff.
Yeah, Child of Light. So Ubisoft has done that in the past. I guess the only thing I can say, and I don't mean this as disrespect, I just think they haven't done it. Like, how do I explain it? Prince of Persia is like AAA in the 2D Metroidvania space. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's super well polished for a smaller concept game.
Yeah. It's like they've gone to the AAA level of that level.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. I'm not eloquent enough
without disrespecting indie games doing exactly the same thing.
I'm kind of like how Ori did it. Ori was like this incredibly polished AAA 2D Metroidvania. Prince of Persia is in that same vein. I don't know if it beats Ori 2 for me, but it's there. It's like right there. It's
It's kept you compelled enough.
I'd love to
play
wipe
for
my
like 2
memory of it
weeks.
and play it again. Yeah.
I'll just jump in and say then I've been playing Ori, the first Ori, the definitive edition, because I never got I did the original before they added the extra bonus content and the one life mode and all that kind of stuff. And so while my Xbox has been stolen by my wife to play Baldur's Gate, I've been playing it on PC and really, really enjoying it. I mean, it's still just as good as I played it the first time.
Yeah.
It's one of the best Metroidvanias ever.
Yeah. Ori's great.
Cameron, you've been playing The Crew too?
Yeah, so I finished The Crew 1 because of the server closures coming out in March.
Yeah.
And oh my god, that was such a grind.
It's one of those dedications to the cause.
Yeah, like, I mean, I got Motorsport done. I've now done The Crew 1, and I immediately jumped back into Crew 2, which I'd done half of in the past. This game is fucking easy compared to everything else. Like, Crew 1 was like, let's turn racing into an MMO. And then 2 is like, let's just make everything casual. Like, do a few races.
So none of the Crew games have, except for the first one, a story, yeah? Like, do the second and the third one have stories at all?
I mean, first one has a story, like, similar to...
Yeah, well, because I completely respect Reflections, what they did with, like, Drive San Francisco and stuff, which is why I was originally keen for the Crew.
I mean, Drive San Francisco was a story, though. 1 is, like, a very loose base... Like, typical racing game kind of narrative.
Yeah.
Crew 2 is
Drive
good,
San Francisco.
Drive is a series that they need to bring back. I'd love a Driver series from Ubisoft.
But how good was San Francisco?
San Francisco
it was
like
my
I don't
favorite
even
game
like
of that
racing
year.
games for the most part, and that game just captured me in a way. I was like, how is Ubisoft making a game this creative?
They turned
like,
it into a
60
movie,
frames, 60 frames on PS3 and 360.
Yeah.
Right, which is already a feat in and of itself. But not just 60 frames on that hardware. Like, it's open world.
Yeah.
As well. Driving game. And I don't want to call it fast travel.
Sure.
But that mechanic...
The possession
where
thing,
your spirit leaves the body of one driver and goes into another one on the other side of the city, all in real time, instantly drops you. Once you've picked your spot, bang, you go instantly.
And not only that, into a middle of a conversation with the passenger in the car with you.
They're talking.
So,
like, everything, again, I don't know the trick they've used, then I assume there's trickery to it, because everything in video games is trickery.
Yeah.
You drop in, and it's like everything is happening at all times. Like, I don't quite think Driver San Francisco, from a technical perspective, gets the respect it deserves. Like, when the more you think about what that game does, the more you think this shouldn't be fucking possible on 360 and PS3. It just shouldn't be possible.
Like, when you compare it to games like Forza Horizon, where it wasn't until like 5 where we got like the, you fast travel, you're there within like a second, like loading times there.
Yeah.
And then you go back to that game and it's like magic.
But that game had like a scope, it also had like a restraint that I wasn't expecting from, you wouldn't get from a modern day Ubisoft game in terms of your open world. Like, if they were going to make another, if you're making an open world driving game, I mean, that was the problem the Crew had, where it was like, hey, guess what? Go to fucking towers to synchronize. And I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Towers do 500 skills.
I was like, come on. Like,
story.
Ubisoft have tried a couple of times, like with Zombie, and then even Watch Dogs Legion from there as well. The original soul jumping game that I remember was Omicron, the Nomad Soul on PC.
Oh my god!
I never played that. That was on Dreamcast as well.
That was a really great David Bowie concert in the middle of that one, and it went from all kinds of styles, like
let me possess your body and have sex with your wife.
It'll be a first-person shooter. It'll be a like side-scrolling fighter or whatever. So,
wow.
Man.
Okay. Anything else for the Crew 2, Cameron?
No, it's very easy. I imagine I'm going to clean up in a week compared to like what the Crew took me like 6 weeks. The rest of the achievements easy. I've also been doing Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Yeah, speaking of cleaning up, we both did the multiplayer last night, so
knocked out all the points for that. Only thing really, like it's your typical arcade racer with like Hot Wheel blind boxes. I will say the cool thing about it though is like finding shortcuts on the tracks to like cut 20 seconds by like jumping off some weird angle. Because some of the time trials are just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, surprisingly different kind of game compared to Milestone's every other game that they do, which is basically cut and paste everything they do, like Ride and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, a lot of their games are very much the same kind of thing. So, but yeah, at least it's got a little bit more creative flair to it. So,
I'll take one. I started and completed Road 96 Mile Zero, which, if you don't remember, Road 96, which I believe was on Game Pass, was basically a game about you being from a fictional oil-rich despot country, and you basically play as a bunch of teenagers trying to get to the border and escape. And so the idea was you would play different characters, and you would meet the same kind of cast as different scenarios, and you would learn more about this world and kind of what's going on, and you kind of have this like a meta narrative as you learn as what happened. There was like a terrorist attack, and you're basically trying to escape 10 years later, and it was very interesting, and you kind of had to find like interesting ways of escaping based on your skill set, and like did you have enough supplies? Did you sleep? Did you hitchhike? Are you going to get found by the authorities? Really interesting kind of, it was janky. Like there's definitely a lot of jank to that game, but I think the overall like spirit of the game or the way it was made was like super interesting in a way that you don't usually see. So this game is a prequel to that. So one of the main characters of that game is Zoe. So this is basically like her origin story of like why she is trying to escape the country. As spoilers for the main game, I guess, kind of the daughter for the minister for oil for that country. So there are a lot of people looking for her. So this game is like, hey, all that cool, interesting kind of like moral ambiguity stuff around like, hey, should I steal to keep myself safe? So that's all gone. This game is a rhythm game. You literally play through 10 different songs on like a Subway Surfer, like, hey, I need to be in this lane to make sure I collect all these things and jump over obstacles and stuff. And there's some other narrative stuff sort of in, and you make some mild narrative choices. It's the first game was kind of weird. Like it had like a weird, like interesting, like it was like magical surrealism kind of thing going on, where it was like some stuff was very straight laced, and then some stuff you'd find like weird trippy shit because it's set like in 96, so it kind of has like this kind of weird disco holdover thing because it's a country that's kind of 10 years in the past, and this kind of does that, but like to the extreme, because like every single song is like a weird dreamscape that you're like running through. Like they've got like an Offspring song in there and stuff. It's very strange. It was okay. Like took me like 5 hours to do. I don't really think it added a lot, especially compared to the original game. You've been playing Resident Evil Village, Kyo, I assume?
Yeah, so pretty much, as I said before, I finished Resident Evil 7 at the end of last year, and I decided, based on how much I love that game, especially in VR, that I would be basically going back and doing all the Resident Evil games, including the stuff that I missed that I never played. So I've pretty much been working on Village. I did a 5-hour stream yesterday just to tie it up. I got to about 3 hours, and I'm like, well, this looks like the end of the game. I was going to finish up, but I'm like, I might as well just see it out. That game is not as good as Resident Evil 7, I think, story-wise, in terms of like encapsulating you into what's going on. And it's really weird when you miss stuff in Resident Evil 7 that they're trying to kind of explain in Resident Evil 8 a little bit. Like there's stuff going on with the main character that if you didn't know it in 7, and I don't want to spoil it, but they don't barely even tell you basically that there's something's going on with that character, and then going into Resident Evil 8, it's just like, well, yeah, you still don't know what's going on with him until they kind of lore dump you in a literal lore room at the end of the game. where there's just 20 pieces of like documents and stuff like that. It's just telling you everything they did tell you during the game.
And they're also like, also this ties in with the rest of the Resident Evil here. This one document. This is the one.
Yeah, tying you back to the original stuff and all that kind of stuff. So, they're trying to work things out. And the lore's just been all over the place with that series. And yeah, so like I'm going to go back and do the original Resident Evil 1 and 0 again. I'm going to go through the 2, 3, 4 remake, and then go back to some of the PS2 games that I missed. And even, there's some really interesting lore in Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles on the PS3 and the Wii that is just, relevant apparently that, so it's going to be a big year for Resident Evil for me, and that's pretty much where I'm starting at the end and then going back. So but yeah,
I was going to say 7 and 8 going to fix the pacing up with the remake, with the lore.
No, but it'll be interesting going back. The way they kind of made the end of Resident Evil 8 tie back to the original game, you should be able to see some of the original games in a different light based on a character and what he was doing leading into Resident Evil 1. Even though this is in the future, you kind of get a little bit just from that one lore room. and yeah, so have you guys played that game? I know, Matt, you've played it. Yeah,
I finished it.
I need to.
Yeah, Nick, you've played it. Yeah. Yeah. So, like the Lady Dimitrescu stuff, finishes up quite early in the game. It's all about the village and stuff like that. But it's just like, it really does feel nice to kind of just play. But I think they solved a lot of the problems from Resident Evil 7. So overall, it's a better game. It's definitely a better game. But you need to play 7 to appreciate 8.
100%.
So,
yeah, it's very much a
7 I've played. I'm still very early in 7. It's quite stressful.
Okay. Yeah.
6, 8, and the remake of 3 are pretty much the only Resident Evils I've never played.
Okay. Yeah.
All the others I've played.
You're not missing much from 6. That's fine. You can skip that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
literally nothing happens.
Controversial take. Up until Resident Evil 2 Remake, 5 was my favorite.
No. 5 is my favorite. Yeah.
5 was
definitely
great.
Yeah.
And I'd love a remake of 5 that does nothing more than improve the graphics a bit, because that was already a beautiful game.
Yeah.
And just modernize the controls a bit. That's all.
Yeah. Apparently, I've been reading up on some stuff and listening to the Resident Evil podcast, which deals mostly in lore, and they said that 5 actually fixed. It was the last game that fixed all of the lore problems after 2, 3, and 4 and stuff. It tied everything up, and then Village apparently kind of did that as well. Tying some stuff up, but still left too many questions. So they really just need another game that ties everything up, leading into the next one and then going from there. But yeah,
I hope Code Veronica is the next remake.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think that's the logical choice. I still need to. I need to finish that.
I just want Resident Evil Survivor on the
so
PS1.
Badly. I just can't.
Yeah.
I know the old tank controls, and that's why I think. And Code Veronica doesn't have a stalker.
No, it doesn't.
Oh yeah, the stalking is real bad in 8 because you've got like the Lady Dimitrescu stuff at the and she has 3 daughters, and they kind of all hover around the mansion one at a time, and you kind of go from daughter to daughter. And
I mean, that's like 7 is the same.
Oh yeah, do you really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that type of game.
Yeah.
They really bug you. Yeah, I've heard Resident Evil 8 described as basically like a funhouse version of Resident Evil, where they're like, hey, we've got 4 different areas. They're very distinct. They all have their own theming and like boss thing and that kind of stuff. And they're like, they just take bits of like, hey, this bit from like this is the castle bit from Resident Evil 4, and this is like the industrial bit from Resident Evil 5, and like
Yeah, and there's about 15 minutes of Call of Duty gameplay at the end of Resident Evil 8 before it goes back to the real story. So
such a strange game, but
it is.
Really,
it is.
Good. I still think, but I agree. I think 7 is a better overall game. Those fucking DLCs though just drive me nuts. Um, I will try and be as brief as I can about this, but Baldur's Gate 3. Um, fuck me, that's a good game. Um, I look, I like. There's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said literally everywhere else on the internet. It is, it's yeah, it's basically everything a BioWare game has tried to be for a very long time and has like not reached. Like the amount of variety and it yeah like it just yeah the way that game works, and like if you were to put this on a flow chart to understand how everything connects together, like I'm convinced that Larian is run by some sort of mega mind AI like thing that managed to put all this together, because it's nuts.
I think the real test would be, and you know how many fireworks work on a Series X console. How many fireworks work on a Series S console?
Yeah, probably one.
One.
Yeah, just the one. Yeah, I love this game. It's absolutely fantastic. Even my like honor mode speed run thing where I was like, hey, I'm gonna try and break this game as much as possible. Like some of the shit that like some of the really, really intelligent design of this game and the way you can work its mechanics to basically break the game in a way that they're like, yeah, go for it, do it. Like it's almost like immersive sim levels of ridiculousness. Uh yeah, this game is great. I mean, yeah, I won't spend any more time on it because everyone knows it's fantastic. It's fucking everyone's game of the year. It won so many awards. But yeah, I'm blown away by the amount of content, the amount of variety, the voice work, the graphics, the everything. And as someone who like enjoys like the 5e D&D kind of stuff, even though I don't really play it, but I enjoy like, watching podcasts and live play and that kind of stuff of it. It's really great to see like how they've kind of taken that and put their own little spin on it to make it work for a video game. And I'm considering going back and having a look at some of the Divinity Original Sin games because I've got those sitting in the backlog as well. Although I know those are a lot more like hardcore in terms of like mechanics and will fuck you over.
I'm interested in your thoughts when you get around to playing other RPGs, like whether, like all the conversation I hear is like this pushes RPGs so far forward. Like everybody needs to be on watch.
Yeah.
To whether other games now are going to feel lesser. Because
I think so. Like even this kind of bridges a gap in between your standard like BioWare action RPG kind of controlling one character and having a couple of squad mates, like your sort of Mass Effects and your Dragon Age kind of thing. And then also on your other end, having your more like traditional CRPGs of your original Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment, Ties of Numenera, things like that. Yeah. And this is kind of a little bit of a nice middle point where it's like, it's not quite as hardcore as the old CRPGs where it's like, you need to be fucking tactics minded, but it's also not as basic as your kind of standard, because as much as I love the original Mass Effect games, they very much have a like this is the predefined path and you kind of pick the red or the blue option, and maybe you use an ability to use some like conversation stuff, but you're probably going to end up doing a lot of shooting. Whereas like this game has so many solutions to puzzles and stuff. Whereas like one of the guys, for example, and this is like a speedrunning glitch, but the fact that it worked was ridiculous. I took one of the main villains and I picked him up. I had a strong enough character to pick him up and then drop him before he got aggroed. And I instead of getting into a big fight with him, I took him to a ledge and I pushed him the fuck off and he died immediately. And I got an achievement for killing someone with a push. I got an achievement for not setting off any traps in his lair. And I just picked up his thing and I was like, cool. Guess that's one of the 3 main villains done. Walk off and take care of the next one. I did, however, realize that I'd done it on the wrong side of the keep that he was in. So when I went back, I had to try and sneak past everyone because everyone was trying to kill him. That was the yeah. So there were some unforeseen circumstances around the way that this game works.
Actions have consequences, Matt.
Yes, very much so. But I can't recommend this game enough. I think everyone should play it. Everyone already has, I'm sure. There was a news story about how they're not bringing it to Game Pass, and I can see why, because they deserve to make some fucking money on this. So great job, Larian. Yeah, definitely.
When they were originally teeing up, it was going to be like a $5 million deal.
Yeah, I think Microsoft estimated $5 million to pay them to get onto it, but now I think probably closer to 50. Overcooked 2, is that you, Karen? Or is
I'll quickly touch base. So doing a lot of AFK for the crew because the last achievement was meeting the 5,000 people. Was browsing TikTok. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. Browsing TikTok, I saw somebody like overlaying the bear cut,
Oh, the bear. Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
the bear like scenes of like very high tense with Overcooked 2. Loved it. I'm just like, man, I haven't scratched that itch in a while. I need to go back and do the Windows game. So all last weekend, I just went through Overcooked 2, and I'll 100% say it's very easy solo.
Okay.
I know that the Discord disagrees with me. Like Mikkel specifically says 4-player. But no, do this solo. There's a few levels that you've just got to understand what they're asking you to do to actually do it. But like, it's one of my favorite games to treat as if it's like a business. Like, you know, when you just do those like Burger Maker games on like mobile and
just time killing games. Yep.
Yeah, those time killing games. It's just that for me. I immensely enjoy it. Not really much else to say other than I hope we kind of get like another Overcooked with more mechanics. But I don't know.
I'm sure we will. It's been successful, right?
Yeah. Seems like one of the main Team 17 games.
Yeah.
That comes up.
And then the last one that I've been playing is the much-loved Disco Elysium. So this has been on my to-play list forever, since it only recently came to Xbox through the Final Cut. So I did a complete playthrough. I spent 20 hours on this week. Holy shit, what a game. For those who don't know, basically the premise of this game is you wake up after a 3-day drinking binge with no memory of anything of where you are, who you are, what you've been doing, and through context, you also, like, your clothes are strewn across the place, the hotel room you're in is destroyed, and you basically go around and try and figure out what the fuck is going on and who you are. You don't even know your name, you don't even know what you look like. And so you slowly piece together the idea that you're a detective who's been sent here to investigate a murder of someone who's been lynched in the backyard of the hotel, and the body has been sitting there for 7 days. And you have to try and piece together both your own idea of who you are and what you do and what even your name is. You've also lost your badge and your gun, which is not great as a cop. And so you basically have like a bunch of little mysteries in this small little, basically rundown shithole part of town that you're in that has such a rich, interesting history. And the added thing is that instead of regular skill checks, you basically have a number of parts of your personality and voices in your head that chime in if you have a high enough ranking in whatever the skill is. So you have one of my favorite ones is called Inland Empire, which is basically a voice in your head that tells you conspiracy theories. So anytime you're like, hey, it's like, oh, there's a ghost in this place. And you're like, your detective who's working with you is like, there's clearly not a ghost in this place. Ghosts don't exist. Your Inland Empire part chimes and goes, but what if it is a ghost? What if this place is haunted? What if you're the first person to discover a ghost? And it's like, you should be really careful. You should find some anti-ghost equipment. And so the thing is, like, it's the thing where it's like, this thing is like a gut feeling or like an understanding of the incomprehensible. But sometimes it's right, is the thing, is that like you have all these voices talking to you in a like almost like a Deadpool manner of like, if you have enough skill in persuasion, or you have like, there's one that's like authority. And sometimes it's like, hey, like you're talking with a guy and he's like a real racist shithead. And you just like, your authority might just chime in and be like, just punch this guy in the fucking face. Fuck him. Like, what, like you're a cop. Like, what the fuck is he going to do? And you could be like, yes, actually, I'm going to be a fucking asshole and just beat the shit out of this guy. Or you can be like, no, actually, you know, and so you make like, the game is all conversations because it's all like detective work and all kind of talking to people. And just, like I said, like it's all about discovery because you're a fish out of water. You don't remember yourself. You don't remember where you are. And so you're discovering this world that has parallels to our world, but not in like it's an alternate history where the Nazis won, but everything's the same. It's like, no. Everything's named differently. The world is completely different, but has like some sort of like parallels to our world in terms of like historical events. And so like there was a communist revolution like 50 years ago and it got put down, and kind of the world's kind of been reeling from it for the last like 40 years, and kind of you are now like discovering it. And you have like conversations with people who are like, yeah, like it's like, yeah, I believe in fascism. I was like, hey, like I'm a massive communist and all this kind of stuff. And like, this game is hugely political. in a way that you like. There's a lot of like Cameron, you would hate this game. There's a shitload of reading. This is like, well, to be fair, it is voiced, but
I don't think it was originally voiced when I looked.
It was not. It was all
Yeah.
So the original version was all reading, which is rough. There's a lot of and it's verbose. There's a lot. Like the amount of work that has gone into this game is pretty fucking incredible. And it's I think it's like it's worth a look. It is overwhelming. That's my biggest thing from it is that like this is not a game that holds your hand very much. You go into the world being like, hey, you trashed your room. You need to come up with $130 if you want to stay here again tonight. So good luck with that. But you find characters along the way. Like you find someone, you're like, hey, you look like a rich, intelligent person. I have lost my memory. Can I just ask you weird fucking questions about reality? And she's like, you know what? Sure, you seem fucking insane. Let's get into it. And so you're like, hey, what's money? Because I don't understand. Like, and it's like, okay, well, the concept of money is you have something for money. And it's like, okay, but why don't I have money? And it's like, well, probably the liberals, but probably this, and so it's like, it's so interesting and weird. And it has a thing where, you are making conversation decisions being like, I'm going to say this, or I'm going to say this. And there's kind of a tally. And eventually, once you say enough of something or you give enough kind of responses, one of those thoughts will chime in and be like, hey, you're saying a lot of communist stuff. Maybe you're a communist. And you can go, no, I'm just trying to be like fair and stuff. I'm not actually a communist. Or you can be like, actually, yes, I am a communist. And so it will give you like a thought bubble or a thing that you can kind of give it's called like a thought cabinet. And you kind of take these ideas of things that you do and ingrain them into your personality, and they kind of give you buffs. I mean, they give you like you have to kind of like ingrain them in your personality and then spend time as you play through the game and time progresses. They kind of become, you understand them more, and eventually they go from having like a debuff to having a positive buff after a certain period of time. So it's like you could go like, yeah, I'm all about like communism, or it's like, hey, there's one where it's like you have like the moralists, which are like the centrists, and there's like a bit of a quiz that she's like, when you're thinking about giving answers to things, do you think like what do you normally like, what are your normal responses to like, social justice and things like that? And like some of the like this game is nuts. It was like one of them is like it's like kings all the way. One of them is like death the kings. Everyone should have a vote, rather. And then one of them is like all these options seem really extreme. I'm not quite sure about that. And you can just kind of pick that. And I did that a lot as like a moralist. And one of the little thought bubble pops up and be like, hey, you're kind of like you have a thing where it's like you can be like a superstar cop or whatever. He's like, is it you're acting like you're a superstar, like wearing big shades, and be like, I'm the fucking king, like I'm doing whatever I want. Or you can be like, hey, the world's ending, I'm gonna be like an apocalypse cop. But if you pick the moralist answers, it's like the one pops up and says, hey, so we've decided what your cop type is. You're just boring cop. You're just boring fucking cop. Like you're the most boring individual on earth. You've done nothing interesting. Like the game is like, why are you picking the boring answers? We literally said you could ask someone if you like it. Yeah, the game is nuts and very, very funny and interesting. And it's a little bit like smelling its own farts. Like it is, like it has like,
are we talking like Alan Wake, like level of, or are we talking
like beyond that? Like yeah.
I love Alan Wake, but let's be honest.
It's not art house in that kind of way of how, like it's not like a art house film. It is like a political. It's like reading. It's like reading Crime and Punishment. Like it's like understanding like a thing of like, hey, you're living in this world and rediscovering it, and you're having conversations with all kinds of people from different walks of life, and they all have opinions on stuff. And because you don't remember anything and you don't have a history, you kind of have to be like, how do I feel about like, because the whole thing starts off where it's like, hey, the person who got lynched was actually trying to suppress a strike. There's a strike happening at the port, but the guy who runs the port, like the union, is clearly like a socialist mob guy who's actually just in it for the money. And so it's like, okay, yeah, workers' rights, but also this guy is super corrupt and like flipping the ticket on everything, and no work is happening, and he's stealing all the money. But it's like, but also the company's probably not great either because they've been exploiting people and they make billions of dollars a year. Like it's a weird, and you're also like, but hey, I also need to solve a murder. And also, you know, like there's so much to this game
How much
in a
is it,
way
like,
that I was not expecting.
how much of it is like moral ambiguity? Like,
So much of it.
okay.
Like so much of it is like who would like there are no good guys in this world. It's just a very realistic depiction of what would happen, what happens in a shithole town where people can't afford to live.
Yeah.
And the cop like this is a place where the cops don't go. And the only reason you've been sent there is because a prominent like someone prominent has been murdered, and if you don't solve this, there's going to be blood in the street and another like a huge riot. And they're like, hey, you need to solve this case because this is like things are getting bad. And it's like, and also you're massively addicted to drugs and like you've been drinking on a 3-day drinking bender, and you've got a voice in your head saying, hey, it's like, hey, you haven't drunk for a bit. You should get some fucking speed. There's a kid over there. There is a kid over there called Kuno who refers to himself only in the third person, who's been throwing rocks at the body that is hung up in the tree, and he just swears at you constantly. And he's like, hey, my dad does drugs. Do you want some drugs? And you're like, ooh, I could go for some drugs. And you have to be like, do I want drugs? Drugs maybe will help me in this situation to actually like, because I'm like, I'm going through withdrawal. Like things are going bad. I have to switch. I'm dying. Also, like one of the things is like, just the last thing I'll say on it is, even when you go to see the body and it's been hanging in the tree for 7 days, you have to pass a skill check to even get close to it because it's rotting and like disgusting. And like I failed the first check and you just throw up. You're just like, I'm just massively sick, and you're like, I literally cannot do this. And I tried it twice, and you get a thought bubble that is called volumetric shit compressor. And it basically says like, hey, you need to get your shit together. You are fucking falling apart right now. You need to internalize this part of getting your shit together and actually like being a fucking cop. So just internalize this, get your shit together, go do something else, come back and try it again. And so like it took me like 3 days to get the body down from the tree to even investigate it. So
Yeah.
Anyway, I could go on for ages about it. I spent like 20 hours on it. I'm doing like another playthrough. There's a pretty good work through on TA, but there's a lot of missable stuff because it's like all conversation trees and like winding paths and stuff. There is kind of like a golden path you can kind of navigate your way down. But it's probably something that you might enjoy going through blind as well. And just kind of like, if you're not like, if you're not in a rush to complete it, and you don't have 50 other games to fucking play, I'd say it's one that's definitely worth checking out. I mean, again, this is another one of those ones that like is like an indie darling that everyone is wax poetic about. So I'm not saying anything that most people probably haven't heard, but I highly, highly recommend it.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think I actually own it. I just haven't played it.
I need to get around to it. I got recommended it from my new bosses, so.
The game is very disco. It's got a,
very interesting.
Cool.
Also, you can also put on different outfits to like give you like bonuses and buffs and debuffs and stuff. So you just walk around wearing the craziest shit in the world. It's like, yeah, I'm wearing like the glasses with like flip up shades on them and a beret, and I've got snakeskin shoes on, and I've got jeans that are way too tight. And they give me it's like they gave you like a disadvantage to athletics because they're too tight around the thighs, but they give you a bonus to electrochemistry because they're tight around the crotch. That's literally what it says in the description. So like the game is like, yeah. But yeah, I think that's everything we've been playing.
I think it is.
So I'll quickly
blitz through.
Yeah, we'll blitz through the leaderboard. So it's Thrash Forever in first place with 11,000.
I did warn you guys I would probably push you to a long episode.
Totally fine.
I'm fine with it. I'm starting to feel bad for you now.
Yeah, when I was investigating your podcasts, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's good for 4 hours. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Should probably see a doctor after that. Thrash Forever is 11,400. We've got Mikhail KV with 11,020 and Mephisto with 10,270 this week. So great work, guys. Some really, really good games scored there. And then completions, I'll quickly go through. Jake finished up Bully. Baron finished up Paw Patrol, Injustice 2, Minecraft Legends, and Persona 4 Golden. What a weird mix of games that is. Legacy finished up Hot Wheels 2 Unleashed. GT, Devil May Cry finished up Devil May Cry. Yeah, Moon's On finished up Devil May Cry collection of the trilogy. Shadow Sly finished up Call of Duty Ghosts and COD Classic. Bulbasaur finished up Insurgency Sandstorm. Rapture finished up Garden Story. Titus Angles finished up Persona 5 Tactica, which is on my to-play list. Stubby Stubby finished up Figment.
Yeah.
Resi Gamer finished up Garden Story as well. I think you got the other way around there, but Mikhail finished up Varanye, which is another weird game. And Lord Mud finished up the original Remnant and We Are the Dwarves.
Yeah.
Nice.
Word challenge, everyone's favorite competition on our Discord. Go and hang out on Discord. That's where all our community stuff happens. We post about the podcast. We also have a shit posting channel and all that kind of stuff. Word challenge. We've got a word challenge channel where you have to guess what the game is. Every week I give a clue. The clues range from completely unhelpful and half of the games in the world to basically giving you the answer. Just listen early. So the first clue was that this game was from a European developer. And the second clue is that this game has DLC. So hopefully that's helpful. That narrows it down a little bit.
I'm not allowed to give guesses, am I?
Oh, you can give a guess if you want.
European dev and the game has DLC. I mean, that's quite broad.
It's a little bit broad, yeah, a little bit.
Am I allowed to take a stab?
I mean, yeah,
one guess an hour, yeah.
One guess an hour, yep.
The Witcher 3?
It is not The Witcher 3, but it is a good guess.
Okay.
Fine.
I would have fucking laughed if he said The Witness.
You lose.
The way it was not, Jonathan Blow, I think, is American, so.
Fair.
All right. I'll quickly go through our Patreons. Patreon.com/HallOfGamers is the place to give us some money so we can help pay for the show. All your money gets reinvested straight back into it. I should know because I'm going to have to pay for the Zoom bill on the 2nd, which I think is like $280. So a huge thank you to Lee Howard, Mikhail KV, Natolinator, Mad Lefty, Admiral Awesome, Happy Moogles, Kung Fu Skills, Hack and Pone, Cavaliers 07, Old Mate Clown, Mark B, McLovin Legend, Marsage, or Mace J as he's properly pronounced, Left for Legacy, and McNulty. Thank you all so much. If you are interested in joining the Patreon, we don't get any of our content at any tier. So any amount of money gets you everything we do, which is usually any kind of specials that we record, as well as the sort of outro and intro recording stuff that I hold on to and put out just for the Patreons. So go check them out. Otherwise, we do usually put our content, we usually make our content free or put it out in other places if you're patient. So don't feel bad if you can't support us. Just having you listen or watch is huge for us. Thank you so much.
As well as word of mouth.
And word of mouth, as always, yes. All right, well, we do the show live, Twitch, Xbox Hall of Gamers every week. So come say hi. It was great to see a lot of audience engagement this week, which has been fantastic. Yes. I'm sure that's your fault, Nick. So thank you.
Like I said, I knew, like it happens on every show I'm on, I end up pushing them into a really long episode, and I apologize profusely for that.
I love it. This is like I was saying in the pre-show, this is my socialization.
Yeah, like the only person suffering is, I think, my wife. So
yeah, fair. That's totally fair. As well as my wife, who is long suffering in general. And that's pretty much going to bring us to the end of the show. Let's go with you, Nick. I want to hear all the shilling. I want to hear everything about what's going on. What do you got? What do you got?
Look, my shilling is always short and sweet. Just go to xboxera.com. Everything for us is there. So if you want the forums, they're there. Access to the YouTube channel, all that sort of stuff. My Twitter, if you care, is just my name with an underscore. Special Nick with an underscore in between. Where you'll find me trolling people a lot and just being a smart ass in general. But yes, go to xboxera.com for the proper stuff. That's it. I'll be doing another podcast tomorrow, which I'm guessing there's some overlap with Risk It for the Biscuit and the Infinite Xbox podcast, I want to say.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. my time, our time, or Eastern. And then ours is the usual time, Sunday morning Aussie time. So busy this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I had the direct stream this morning as well.
So sure, yes.
You just got to fit them all in.
It's a working weekend.
Yeah, effectively 4 podcasts in the space of 3 days for me.
Don't worry, you'll get asked to do another one tomorrow night, and it'll be all fine. Just fit them all in.
I'll work something.
For the week.
I'll work something. Yeah.
Can you imagine playing video games when you go on podcasts? It's just where do you find the time? Cameron, what about you?
People like you find the time. My God.
Yeah. We've talked about that.
Last week it was just like, oh yeah, so I've got like 15 to 20 games I want to talk through. And And I want to kind of give them all the attention that they deserve.
I limited it down quite a bit. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is all the extra time for not having podcast weeks.
Exactly. Yes, it's like,
that's
hey,
it.
look, imagine what I could do if I didn't have a fucking podcast to run. Imagine.
Oh dear.
Cameron, what about you?
Shadowless AU, pretty much everything. You can, like, basically at the moment I'm working on all backlog racing. If you got anything that you want to do, let me know on the Discord. I will probably try and set up a session for it so we can hopefully knock it out.
Awesome. And Keo.
Yeah, so you can catch my streams at Keo Live at home. You can catch the notifications for my streams on Twitter under the same Keo Live at home. The VODs at HTFG Play on YouTube, and I now have an Instagram as well, which is also Keo Live at home. So
Amazing. And as always, I'm Neomaster on everything True Achievements, Xbox, and Discord. I don't stream or do anything on the social medias. You can find me on the Discord if you want to at me for some reason or another. That's been episode 107. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us. It's been a fantastic episode.
That's fine. Like I said, I am sorry I threw us on so many tangents.
You don't want
and
to go
dragged the
20
episode
minutes
out.
before.
This is what I live for, mate. This is
That's
I
incredible.
love
Episode
racing
out.
vertical lap games. It's great.
Yeah.
But that's episode
All right,
107.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. We will catch you guys next week. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
peace out.
Ciao.